technically done.
Writing is rewriting, John. So rewrite your excuses for me and come back.
Go forever. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to not only another day here at the Damage Report, but a big old Friday day, a day where we've all got chores. Well, a chore. We have one chore. We're gonna fill up this garbage can, and I have got one of my favorite pieces of garbage making a return today. I've also got Brett Erlich. Brett, how's it going? Thank you for being here.
Am I in the garbage category?
There was sort of a link there, but not intentional. No, we're just glad to have you.
Keep my name out of this garbage sentence, and I'll be happy. I'm good, man. I'm mellow today. I was really excited earlier, but then I realized it was just because of all the coffee, and I was like, okay, so it's not like emotionally I'm anywhere significant. But I will say, if you guys want to see some awesome programming today, sit tight. Because we have this show, which is gonna be bonkers, followed by Indisputable, also bonkers. David Schuster is on, and then Shelley Winter is in the bullpen. Shelley is Dr. Richie's friend that he yells at, and they yell at each other. It's just delightful.
Wait, I need to see this because I have a hard time even imagining him yelling. No, someone.
Shelley does the yelling, and Rashad like relishes the fact that he is like officially gotten under Shelley's skin. So it's like it's laugh yelling. It's like there's a. It reminds me of it's like you'd hear. Yeah, it's like that. So it's great. They disagree, but they're still friends. Like it's really awesome. But they're gonna talk about very, very like real issues. So that's gonna be great. Then after that, it's Galaxy Brain with Ben Carollo. So you'll see that on twitch.tv/TYT. And then after that, we got an amazing show for you today. Ben Glebe is the comedian who did Idiot Test. He's been on the show before, ran for president. He's gonna be on the show. He went down to that anti-vax restaurant in Huntington Beach and had like hidden videos, so we're gonna see that and cover a bunch of stuff. John and Jank are doing that with you. And then after that, Nina Turner is in studio with Jank Uger to talk about some really interesting, awesome, and at times horrible, demoralizing stories, but also important ones. And then she's gonna stick around for the bonus episode for members because they're gonna talk about a little bit about her campaign and running for Congress and what went down there. And then after that, at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, we got Common Room for you. It's game night. So you'll be in the Common Room with us, playing some Jackbox games. And John's already crafting an excuse not to do it, so we'll share that with you.
I was literally waiting for you to stop talking so that I could ask, is it a full panel already? Because I wanted to give you even more before I inevitably take it away. We'll see.
Let me help you, John, because it is the kind of show where you can just show up and disappear. Like you can jump in the Discord if you want with us, and we'll have your audio on. If you want to do a video call, we can do that too. But if you just want to play, if you want to just play, you can play as well. Let us know. But you'll be using Discord. Members get priority. People who are subs get priority, and higher tier subs get more priority, just to kind of give back to you, which you give to us, and you can play games with us.
And you said it's going to be Jackbox games.
Jackbox games.
Awesome, cool. So have you tried out because I know you've done Among Us. Have you done the Fortnite Among Us?
Oh, is that what it is now?
Apparently, well, it's a new thing.
That's crazy because I said to Brooke or Jordan like that. We're gonna start doing like there's gonna be some cool announcements about the Friday Common Room / game night thing coming up pretty soon. And one of the things I wanted to do is like a version of Among Us in Fortnite. It's crazy that they just came out with that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's awesome. Okay, well, we'll talk more about that, but there is a lot of news coming up. So thank you everybody for being here, regardless of what platform you're on. If you could hit the like button, share the stream, that would be great. So the people know that we're live. And if you want to send us comments, tweets, super chats, questions, all that, we'll respond. Actually, if you have even deeper questions that you want longer answers to, I have a great way for you to get those questions answered. That is by submitting them for our live member Q&A, which is going to be taking place next Monday at 12 p.m. Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern time. That is for our tier 3 members on YouTube on the Damage Report. We have a post on the community tab where you can post questions. We also do a lot of live talk, but it's great to have some things to talk about in advance. So that happens every month, and the next one is coming up on Monday. Now that said, Brett, I think it's time to launch into what is an overstuffed rundown for today's show. Let's do that.
Indeed.
Just about as our show yesterday was taking place, DC was dealing with the threat of an somewhat unspecified bomb. We knew an individual was being approached by law enforcement. That situation has now been resolved, and we want to give you all of the details that you need to know about that, especially considering that as of this morning, I went looking for updates and coverage and all that, and there's seemingly nothing. So another bar has been passed in the US. You can have a bomb threat in the Capitol and it's news for like a day, and then that's it. Well, anyway, here's what happened. Floyd Ray Roseberry allegedly parked his truck near the Library of Congress and shared his extremist views in a rambling anti-government diatribe, which he beamed to thousands of viewers on Facebook and which has since been removed from the site. In the live stream, Mr. Roseberry said he aimed to start a revolution and spoke ominously of other patriots who had joined the cause. Now understand that while his stream has been taken down, videos from it are everywhere. I'm not gonna play any. I go back and forth on this sometimes, not interested in getting his stuff out directly, but I do want you to understand the sort of political ideology and some of the other related things that might have inspired this attempted or at least alleged act of domestic terrorism. US Capitol Police reported that a bomb was not recovered from the truck, but possible bomb-making materials were collected after his arrest. We're awaiting more specific information about that. In his live stream, Roseberry indicated several times that there were 4 other explosives sitting around this town, but that he didn't know where they were because we all came in different ways. He claimed his toolbox was full of ammonium nitrate, which has been used previously by generally white supremacist domestic terrorists here in the United States. If there is any truth to the other bombs or the other individuals, I have seen nothing about those people being found or any threats being made. We'll see if there's some update there. We're gonna give you more information about his background and all of that. But Brett, what are your thoughts about this?
Watching the videos, you can see that this, like, it's just so strange because there's a couple things. First, you look at, like, it's some dude saying that the South has come to DC. And you hear that kind of talk and you're like, this is some kind of racist thing. But then you just realize that he has read every conflicting but thematically linked Facebook post / claim that you can fathom. And it has convinced him generically that something terrible is happening and Joe Biden is somehow responsible for it.
Yeah.
And he doesn't seem like he's drugged up or anything. He's just wildly deluded on either drugged up on copium, but watching him try to put together these like very grave sounding deep threats, but it's just like, if you shoot me, this thing's gonna blow up. I want to see my wife on Sunday.
Yeah,
it's like, buddy, yeah, you're not gonna go home on Sunday, even if you survive this. You can't do this. Like, who? And it is playing out on every possible front right now. The way that people go to social media for disinformation and then act on it in ways that are just nonsensical, but also like deadly.
Yeah.
To kill people, to kill himself, and then especially with like vaccination and mask mandates and everything, we're in a really bad spot.
I agree. There's massive disconnects. The internal consistency isn't there. There seems to be some thread of Joe Biden can do X or give me Y that isn't stated, that causes the bomb not to go off, but it isn't a part of his rants. So who knows? And who knows if it was even capable of exploding? I mean, that isn't clear at this point. But you mentioned the copium and all that, so we're gonna get to a bit more of the politics of this. Old videos on his Facebook page show he participated in at least one rally to overturn Joe Biden's 2020 election victory, the Million MAGA March, which did not include 1 million people. That was back on November 14th. And understand, there had been, like, after January 6th, there were these warnings put out that people who are still mad about the results of the election could individually or in groups commit future acts of violence. And there haven't been a ton, but in April, a man, if you recall, rammed a vehicle into a barricade outside the northern entrance of the Capitol, which killed a US Capitol police officer and injured another. Now we have this individual, supposedly 4 others, although I'm guessing those are fictitious at this point based off of what else we know. But we also know about this individual that Roseberry's wife said her husband left North Carolina last night on a purported fishing trip. She said her husband, who she said voted for Trump, had been upset with the result of the 2020 election. She also said that he was struggling with mental health issues and recently changed medication. And there are references in his videos to not being able to get medication or losing health insurance and things like that. So look, as is generally the case, there is a mix of sort of strictly partisan stuff with some ties to vague conspiracy theories, but also potential issues with mental health. So yeah, it's the sort of mix, unfortunately, we're growing accustomed to. And thankfully, at least in this case, nobody lost their life.
Yeah. It's just so difficult. Like, you want solutions to your problem. First of all, you're gonna have to tell me what is your threshold for evidence, period, in the world, buddy. Like, what is it gonna take to convince you that Joe Biden won this election? Tell me, can you tell me? No one can tell us because they just want to be right about it. So already we're not in a discussion, and that's very frustrating. And then the other thing is, like, I have a solution to your problem of losing health coverage, and it's single payer, it's Medicare for all. And unfortunately, there are people outside of you who have convinced you that there is something socialist and terrible about that, even though it's working better in other countries. And you like socialism, you like the police, you like the fire department, but I don't understand what is between you guys and just coming to terms with there's a policy that works in other countries where they pay half as much per person and live longer. And you can get your medication when you need your medication without having to be employed during a pandemic as your political movement struggles to, quote, reopen stuff in ways that end up making it more difficult to go back to normal in the long run. And that's another theme, is this instant gratification, which is hilarious coming from a religious right whose entire life is supposed to be predicated on delayed gratification. They want to know, they want to go back to work, they want to do this now, as opposed to just putting on a mask, staying away from people until we can get this under control. Instead of something that they also fetishize, which is just some massive problem, these deaths that are out there, or at worst, they resort back to this myth ideology, which is baked into religion, that like, oh, this is all just a myth. The real myth is my God myth.
Yeah. Well, look, I agree. Let's move on to another angle on this. The details that have come out so far about the DC attempted bomber are fairly clear, and I wish that we had a country, or at the very least a media, where everyone was united in saying political violence is a bad thing, and it's not patriotic. It's not something you should aspire to, and not have all of these grifters, some on TV, some just on the internet, inspiring people to think that drastic times call for drastic measures. But unfortunately, in a variety of different forms, that's not the media that we have. And there's either ambiguity, attempts to sanitize these radical movements or apologize for them. And even in the wake of this possible alleged attempted bombing, we do see that. So we gave you information that was very clear and readily available about the potential political motivations of this. So the right? Are they going to get that message? Is this a moment where they can potentially learn that there are some who are going too far? We need to step back from the brink? Well, unfortunately, possibly not if they're watching Fox News, because this is how they talked about it.
Man claiming to have a bomb in his truck near the US Capitol surrendered after an hours-long standoff. Law enforcement did not find a bomb in the vehicle, but say they collected possible bomb-making materials. So far, no word on a possible motive. I'm Jackie Ibanez, now back to the Ingram angle.
So that's just not true. There were many words, lots of them, in order, sentences actually, paragraphs of sentences about possible, there were his words about possible motives. But again, a movement does not have to step back from the violence that's becoming a more and more accepted thing. If every time one of them crosses that line and acts on it, the right pretends that it doesn't happen. So this guy, he's not on the right. The Capitol insurrectionists, they're not white supremacists, they're not radicals, they're probably not even Trump supporters. They spent months doing that PR for them. And now we have it immediately spooling up for this individual too. And so this is what Fox News, the most legitimate of the media on the right, does. It shields the right from an understanding of how far some of its members are willing to go. And that unfortunately almost certainly gets us closer to more doing it.
At a time when they are basically focused utterly and nonstop on a potential threat from Afghanistan refugees that aren't here. That's what's so wildly frustrating. It's like, guys, the terrorist threat is the one you're creating on a daily basis. And Charles F. Coleman's on the show all the time, and he says, don't profit off of controversy. That's all that's baked into it. And you see Tucker fanning the flames every single night. People on Fox fanning the flames every single night, conveniently saying, I'm just asking questions. Looking at, there's no doubt in my mind that people at Fox go down the same exact rabbit holes as their audience does. And all they do in their pitch meetings is decide how are they gonna, which parts of those theories and nonsense are they going to call out explicitly, and which ones are they just going to dog whistle at?
Yeah,
or echo, repeat explicitly, and which ones are they gonna dog whistle at? And that's it. And that's what you see playing out right there. They know they can't say it. For as much as they project onto other news outlets this, oh, you're protecting your own personal hidden interests. It is very clear that that guy went there saying, Joe, in denying the outcome of the election, obviously getting into this weird false choice between freedom and vaccination and masks. Yeah, like it's psychotic, and they're doing it every day.
Clear.
And if they were to just say this guy is obviously caught up in all of that, and you can even muddy the waters a little bit by saying that the guy's wife says that he has mental issues as a result of not being on the same medication. Like, you've covered your bases and you've been honest. But in this situation, they're saying there's no stated motive. He was out there for hours talking about his motive, saying exactly what he wanted and why he's there.
Yeah, they're not satisfied with covering their bases. They cover the stadium. You can't see anything of anything that's happening. And by the way, he is a white attempted domestic terrorist. So this is all playing out the way we would expect. They took him alive. He's got a multi-billion-dollar media network doing PR for him to protect him from any analysis of what happened. The mental health possibility, the issue, the potential that he has mental health problems, which by the way is obviously a part of virtually every single person who is willing to commit any act of violence in a civilized society, becomes a huge part of the story, more so than like how clear does a white domestic terrorist need to make their agenda for people to accept it? Like when it's a black, I don't even like, again, not right. Political violence, because those virtually never happen. But a black person gets killed, they dig into their past to try to find any sin they've ever committed to be an explanation for it. This guy's like, it's not even a written manifesto. You don't even have to read it. He's shouting it at you live to thousands of people, and they pretend that it doesn't exist. No, really fast, I understand, we gotta break it a sec, but this ties into it. You have the media the most mainstream of right-wing media defending him. You have literal elected Republicans apologizing for him. So here is what was put out by Mo Brooks, a guy who participated in the rally with Trump on January 6th, said, "I'm aware of the Capitol bomb threat. I'm monitoring the situation. I am in Alabama. My Washington staff is accounted for and safe. I pray for the safety of Capitol Police and first responders on the scene in Washington. Sadly, violence and threats of violence targeting America's political institutions are far too common." Right there, if it ended there, that's a great statement to put out when a bomber's in DC. Unfortunately, that's less than half the statement. He said, "Although this terrorist motivation is not yet publicly known, and generally speaking, I understand citizenry anger directed at dictatorial socialism and its threat to liberty, freedom, and the very fabric of American society." The sentence ends there. I don't know what the generally speaking was for. "The way to stop socialism's march is for patriotic Americans to fight back in the 2022 and 2024 elections. I strongly encourage patriotic Americans to do exactly that, more so than ever before. Bluntly stated, America's future is at risk." The only takeaway from that is, look, I get it, man. I get what this terrorist is thinking. They are dictators and they are gonna take away your liberty. The future of America is at risk. But let's do the election thing instead. Imagine if Ilhan Omar put a statement like that about a Muslim terrorist who had some sort of political objective. How defensive and apologetic is this elected representative of what that guy was doing? He was threatening to blow up the Library of Congress, potentially killing dozens, hundreds of pages, people who work there, other elected representatives, civilians walking by. And Mo Brooks' first thought is, I get it. I get the thing that drove you to pack your truck full of ammonium nitrate and drive to DC.
This is baked into, you have a lot of interesting, analogs and flip sides of the same coin, and then you get to see if they actually are the same coin. So Lauren Boebert said the only people who are building back better are the Taliban.
Yeah.
If Ilhan Omar had said anything like that, done.
Yep.
Well, you look at
if she retweeted that same tweet, she would get censured.
Yeah, and also at the second half of this whole thing is a wink at the people who think that this guy's a hero. That's the difference. Mm-hmm. Is there's plenty of people who say look at Palestine. They're like, listen, when someone takes a suicide bomb into a crowded marketplace, no matter what side they're on, and if they're in Gaza or wherever, in Israel, I denounce that, but I don't think we should lock up children and families, right? Because that's what my mind went. Is there's tons of stuff where people on the left say, I think I understand the plight of these people that you are vilifying, and who there's been deaths committed by people theoretically on that side. But the difference is you're talking about families on one end, and then you're talking about unhinged terrorists.
Yeah.
And then you're motivating more stuff like that. How do I know? Mo Brooks, you wore body armor to the January 6th rally because you knew there are folks like that out there. And you're still indicating that you want to support them. And that's why I read the second half of his entire stupid statement as a giant wink.
It is.
Go ahead.
100% is.
Wink. And I need that. And most nefarious of it all. And it's the stuff we get mad at everybody for. Why are you keeping these problems around? An election. Why are you keeping money in politics? An election. Why aren't you following through on your campaign promises, Democrats? An election. Why are you fomenting terrorism with giant, long, twice as long as a normal tweet, so you had to take a screenshot of it? Things like this, an election. Wink. That's what's so frustrating to me.
Agreed. We're gonna take our first break. When we come back, we're gonna see a little bit of what's going on in Afghanistan. So we got that for you in just a few. Okay, everybody. Oh, by the way, reminder, the multicast is now gone. It hasn't been all this week, but just in case you haven't been watching, the Young Turks still streams. It is not gone. It is at youtube.com/The Young Turks. So you can watch it there, freely available. Don't need to be a member or a subscriber or anything like that. 6 p.m. Eastern time, 3 p.m. Pacific time, but no longer multicasting on the Damage Report YouTube channel. So bear that in mind. Now with that, let's jump into the comments. Smoking Electric Dragon says, I used to live a few counties away from where that guy was from, and believe me, it's not necessarily full of enlightened people. Definitely drives the lawnmower to the shop. I mean, I don't know the area or who he is. And I'm less bothered necessarily by him, thanks to the fact that he was stopped, than all of the sort of cultural infrastructure that supports stochastic terrorists.
I do want to interject something, John, to Yeetwood Mac's point. I feel Brett's rage today right there with you. It's not just the rage. It's that there is something that either is notifying me a bunch of times or connecting and disconnecting due to something coming loose in my computer. So I just keep hearing boop, 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 boop.
Did you dab at your computer or something? Is that what?
My biggest fear in the world, so don't feel bad for me, is that I dabbed and broke something and it is forever ruined. But I think it's just, I think it was Discord. So yeah, I turned off notifications.
Okay. Okay, let's see. Over on YouTube, Dr. Deborah D and Vicky Gray, thank you for becoming tier 1 members. Much appreciated. Get access to the emojis there. By the way, team, we got to get a new emoji. 100%. It's been a long time. We got to figure out together an emoji to get. Okay, let's see.
Jordan made an Agao phase on his show the other day.
What's that?
Jordan made an Agao face on his stream the other day.
Screenshot?
I think we clipped it immediately.
I'm sure that Brooke was on it.
He's saying no. But I think he's just saying it's on backwards.
Okay.
No, he keeps saying on backwards. Jordan, you're typing backwards. It's on. You can do that.
Oh no, it's just for Twitch. Okay, no, that face deserves to be spread at least on my Instagram. How about that? Anyway, Toasted Dragon says, is TYT involved in any radio? A lot of Arizonans like me listen to the radio on the way to work, and maybe it would be a good way to grow the movement. We are not. I don't know why or why not. I don't know. That's available. The podcasts are available, but like, could we be syndicated on radio? I don't know. Audience. Yeah, that's true.
Used to be. Okay, I don't know why we're not anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. Vicky Ray says, oh boy, it's garbage day. Y'all have a great weekend. Thank you very much, you too. Pitchfork says, we need a Patreon to support our incredible TYT TDR mods on YouTube and Twitch. That's a good idea. Have at it. Pitchforks, thank you, Pitchforks. Let's see, the Progressive Carpenter. Hey, Progressive Carpenter says, hey guys, caught the show late yesterday. I wanted to say that I lived on Martha's Vineyard for 3 years building houses and solar arrays. Besides the super rich, there's a great year-round community of working people there. That's awesome, thank you. I've never been there. I would love to see it at some point, especially since I'm from the East Coast. Okay, oh geez, there's so much going on and we are running out of time. Maui Girl gifted a tier 1 sub, thank you. Diamond Joker gifted 5, very nice. Okay. Chainsaw says the only fact on Fox News is the little clock in the corner, and then only if watched live. Channel should be removed for public safety reasons. That is funny. Okay, Metal Kitty Mom, thank you for those 5 subs, and Kelly June for 1. Thank you so much. Okay, a lot more news coming. We'll be back in just a few. Okay, so if you weren't there for the social break, 2 little things I want to make sure that you know. One is that we've got a great Jordan-based emote, which is probably coming soon. So that's awesome. And 2 is we want to give a shout out to an individual who's been a big part of TDR for some time now. Our intern Josh is unfortunately going to be hitting that old dusty trail for a bit after helping out with the production of stories and the editing of videos and the logging of the show. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in advance of the show and behind the scenes during the show. And Josh as an intern has been a big part of that. So apparently we'll be coming back at some point. We'll miss him until then, but Josh, thank you for all that you've done. And I know if you're watching this show, you may not have known that Josh was working here or all the other people who do, but the show wouldn't exist. It certainly wouldn't be any good without them. So thank you. Okay, with that, why don't we jump back into this thing? Oh geez. Earlier this week, we received assurances from the Taliban that while they still would be ruling based on the dictates of Sharia law, women did not have anything to fear. They would be protected in some way, or the Taliban has changed in some form. It was vague, and perhaps with good reason, because so far the early indications are that not much has changed. It took just a few days for instance, them to ban women anchors from state television. So we found out that as of just a couple of days ago, the Taliban has indefinitely suspended women employees, including Khadija Amin, a prominent anchor woman on state television. Tweets going out from inside of there saying that she has been banned, other women banned from returning to work. This is one of the fears that were expressed in the early days after the fall of the regime. You can see the replacement there of Khadija Amin with a member of the Taliban taking over her seat. She put out a statement, by the way, saying, "I am a journalist and I am not allowed to work. What will I do next? The next generation will have nothing. Everything we have achieved for 20 years will be gone. The Taliban is the Taliban. They have not changed." And so, Brett, I don't think that we've talked about this over the past week, but I'm not very surprised. What do you think?
This idea of like a brand new Taliban is hilarious. I mean, it's not hilarious, but just like it is ridiculous. It's like Vincent D'Onofrio's character in Men in Black, where he's like, "I'm Edgar," but inside he's like a giant bug and he's trying to convince people that he's just a person. But every so often he's like, just reaches out and eats someone alive. Like that is what the Taliban's trying to pull off right now. And they could do it if they don't do stuff like this. Like the idea that a group that took over an entire country in 11 days, that the only imagery we have of it is brutal executions and motorcades of guys with AK-47s that they've now replaced with AR-15s because they have all our weapons now. The idea that they're like, "Hey, we're just friendly. We're just a friendly group of guys here." Like it's crazy. And this is proof of it. And these are the little bits of information that we gather based on what they put forward. And with any regime at all, but it's pretty explicitly pronounced in regimes kind of like this, like they will pick and choose what they show the world, what they give access to. Like when you think about Cuba, you think about North Korea, you think of everybody who comes back and is like, "It was pretty great here." You've got some pretty explicit sorry, something very loud sound just happened outside. But when you think of those, when you think about those regimes, you think about like very curated tours that they give people of what is allowed to reach the outside world. And the face that they're putting toward the outside world, as opposed to North Korea, where it's someone just like sitting in front of a news desk being like, "Everything's fine, everything's fine." In this situation, it's like, we are replacing the news desk with this guy here.
Yeah, 100%. Not surprised. We'll see. Maybe, I mean, it has been more than 20 years. Maybe there will be some small change, but so far, they're not even waiting, like giving it a little buffer so that the media stops paying as much attention. They're jumping right back into it. Like we've got some notes here based on what it was like in Afghanistan from 1996 to 2001. Under the Taliban then, women had to cover themselves and leave the house only in the company of a male family member. The Taliban also prevented girls from going to school and women from working outside the home. They were also prevented from voting. Nobody's surprised by that. So assuming they go back to that, they will be now, thanks to 20 years passing, slightly more repressive than Saudi Arabia, which our country is perfectly fine with. So I can imagine the amount of pressure to get better that they'll face with the Taliban. But yeah, people are putting in the chat like, why are they so afraid of women? I don't know. Afghanistan will be obviously objectively weaker because of every single one of these moves, which are, let's just remember again, in terms of casting stones, obviously stronger, more codified versions of the same sorts of fears of female progress that most of the world still has, that we certainly have here. I mean, the most watched faces in cable news were demonizing female soldiers earlier this year, or trans female athletes and things like that. Obviously, this is worse, but the idea that men feel that their position is inherently at risk of women taking it away, that's basically a constant across our species.
And just like
really fast last point,
how demoralizing it must be for people who used to turn on the news and see the news, and now they look outside their window and in the street they know that it's terrible, but like then it creeps in through the television, which for many people can be an escape, and there is no escape. It's actually just more oppressive and more invasive because it comes from a place where you were expecting to, get away from it for a second.
Yes. Okay. We'll do our second break, and when we come back, refugees, the effort to demonize the possibility of bringing in more Afghani refugees, that continues in the mainstream media. So we'll be going to that after this.
Tires when you realized you had to take a break.
Well, it always depresses me how fast the hours go by. But anyway, Sleepy Crow, thank you for becoming a member on YouTube. Benjamin Matthews says, I wish to thank Brett for making my wife laugh at the word consummate 2 Fridays ago, as that purple is her favorite color. She now has her own Dragon Squad t-shirt. Well, that's awesome. I don't remember what you were using the word consummate for.
I don't either, but
I'm worried. Daniel says, so when is TDR doing VR meetings? I'm sure you guys' avatars would be great. Mine would be a red panda. Facebook continuing to innovate. They understand what the world needs. Anyway, Billy Shively says, when I think Brett, I think garbage. I think that was a reference to your first comment on the show. Okay, Layu says, state worker here. I work around and in a state capital, and I realized I've developed a kind of stress response to January 6th now. When I walk the Capitol, I plot what I would do if I were attacked. I'm sorry that in America, you need to feel that way.
And that is a point of terrorism. Exactly that feeling in you is their point.
Cleo Girl says, hey guys, I heard a news anchor say Bomber isn't being covered as much on major networks is because they don't want to amplify the BS and feed into it. Look, I think there are obviously ways you can cover it that might amplify it. I also think we definitely need to understand this massive and continuing threat. It doesn't go away because you don't talk about it. Okay,
that is a long-standing and important question, and I don't know if there's an answer to it.
Yeah. Meximan says, dabbing for Brett on my B-day. Happy birthday. Also, right. John, what's your
with the dabbings? These are the headphones I was wearing when I dabbed my Go XLR off the desk.
Don't do it. Don't
get it. Slow-mo dabs.
Okay, just be careful. Meximan also asked, John, what's your favorite Magic the Gathering combo to win with? Not a big combo player, honestly. Sweepers and a great finisher creature. That's my combo there. Thank you.
I don't have the money to play Magic the Gathering, so I play the generic version, Magic a Gathering.
God. Anyway, I love that this Twitch comment was put into it. From Really Chill Guy. Hi, Game Set John. Would you like to play Fortnite at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time tonight? This is a contract. We'll see. We'll see.
Just do it.
You won't be able to. You'll be doing Common Room.
No, that's when Common Room's over. That's why Jordan wants to play at that point.
At 7:30. Okay. Well, we'll see.
John, no. What do I gotta do to become the person in your life that you're like, yes, that's a plan. I'll do it.
You want to be the Zooey Deschanel to my Jim Carrey? Just say yes. By the way, can we get an emoji out of the face?
Damn it. At least the beeping stopped. What do I gotta do?
True, that's true. Trekkie Nurse Dragon, thank you for the 5 tier 1 subs, much appreciated. I think this is a separate one. Metal Kitty Mom, who had previously given subs, giving 5 more. Thank you to everybody who's being such a great ambassador. Close out the week. Faithless the Draculich subscribed for 9 months. Thank you. Inked Betty Gaming for 10 months says, yay, Dragon Erper here again. Watch Winona Earp. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I thought that was a reference to Brett at first, but no, thank you. Lynn Ann subscribed for 9 months, says 9 months sub. There isn't going to be a dragon baby dropped off on my porch or anything, is there? Thank you for educating us, entertaining us, and giving us a push to go on. Both Dragon Squad, TYT, one and all, chat rocks. Thank you, Lynn Ann, that's very nice of you. Muad'Dib, thank you for subscribing. It's me for 4 months. Thank you all. Jace for 8 months, much appreciated. Okay, more to come, but first, this.
Rawr.
So I know that you know that they can hear that. So I have to assume that was a purposeful sound effect for the animation.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll work on it. Okay, with that, let's jump back into things.
You may have noticed we have problems here. We have a housing crisis, by the way, a big one. Do you have kids? Ask them. According to the Wall Street Journal, the amount of available entry-level housing in the United States, and that's defined as homes up to 1,400 square feet, is at a 5-decade low. So when the supply shrinks, the cost rises. The median value of a home in California just rose above $800,000, first time in history. Less than 40% of the millennial generation will own a home by the age of 34. They're all renting, and rent is going up too, a lot. The growth in median rent outpaced the growth in median renter income in nearly every state between 2001 and 2019. That's a disaster. That's a terrible development for American citizens. So why is it happening? Well, lots of reasons, but one reason it's happening is America's becoming a lot more crowded than it ever was. And one of the reasons for that is that we're now living through the biggest influx of refugees in American history. We are on pace for at least 2 million illegal immigrants arriving in America this year alone. That's far more than the number of asylum applicants who arrived in Europe in 2015. That was over 1 million, just over 1 million.
Okay, so we're going to talk about this right now, but I want you to remember the video you just saw, because I think this is one of the purest examples of everything that is truckers' shtick. It is, hey, I'm a populist. I'm going to acknowledge the actual issues that are facing you, the core economic issues. And then I'm going to link it to some xenophobic BS that not only has nothing to do with the problem, like if you were to list the top 100 things contributing to our housing crisis, Afghan refugees would not be on that list. So it's not only not connected, but factually, he could not be more wrong than he actually is. We're gonna break down how, but I know that Brett is stewing. So Brett, what do you think about this right-wing populism?
I got confused on which Tucker stuff we were focusing on today. I did not see that before this. I did not expect it, because I was expecting the thing that he's like, no, I have a whole hour of a show and I can take 4 minutes out of it to say things that will give me a plausible out in the future when I'm accused of wanton xenophobia and white replacement theory. But no, we waste not a moment here on Tucker Carlson. We take everything from one side, the populist issue, and we tie it to the same damn thing, xenophobia and racism. Do we want to list all the contributing factors to this? The reason we're getting more crowded is because people are moving to cities. When people are moving to cities, because there is no economic opportunity in the places that you purport to defend the most. But rather than defend them with actual policy initiatives and ways they can constructively try to go influence Congress, and if you're so interested in a party realignment, which that is exactly why Tucker is barking all this populist stuff, he knows that there aren't enough Republicans to vote for his tax breaks for him personally, Swanson broth pleated pant Carlson. He now knows that he needs to give them something to get mad at. And he needs to peel away people. So he goes and has Jimmy Dore on, and he's like, say whatever the hell you want. Say Medicare for all. I'm not gonna say anything explicit about that, but I am now going to point everyone that is now watching my show at refugees. It's their fault, it's their problem. Or censorship, yes, let's get mad at them. It's their problem, because that platform is where they all stew in to get all their information and all their motivation to hate the other. He's created this gross petri dish of putrescence and hate. And these are all the organic materials that he needs to put into it on a daily basis so the fungus can grow stronger.
That I can't fact check the biology there, I'm not sure, but I think that you're 100% right about your analysis of his strategy. There will be some brief reference to ruling elites or the housing crisis or whatever. He'll briefly mention it, and then he will point you to refugees or black academics or trans athletes or women soldiers or whatever. That is what it's not even, I don't even understand why they use the term populism as if it has anything to do with populism as a concept. It is an incredibly transparent, shallow invocation of real problems, no interest whatsoever in dealing with them, and using that, weaponizing the concern against outgroups. That's all it is. That's all it is whatsoever. But anyway, I also want to show how he's wrong. People are saying we're gonna miss the D block if we fact check the whole thing, but we're gonna go quickly through this. The country, first of all, is not overcrowded. It's a massive country. We can fit a lot of people, but to the extent that it is crowded in any places, it's more of what Brett is saying. And it's certainly not because of refugees. Let's take a look at refugee resettlement ceilings from 1980 to this year. Shockingly, back in the 80s, we actually used to take in far more refugees than now. I have no idea if that was a reasonable number when it was at 250,000 or close to 200,000. Maybe we could have taken 5 times as much. I don't know, but we take far less, and it has been trending down over time. Both the actual official ceilings and how many are actually coming in. You can see that as of this year, the ceiling went up quite a bit, although still lower than was generally the trend over the past few decades. But something like less than 5,000 refugees have actually been brought in. And yes, it is a pandemic, but we're gonna see over the next few years, even if Democrats remain in charge, if we will actually see a big raise to those numbers. And so refugees are not crowding the country. Even the reference he made there to 2 million people, he is being 100% willfully dishonest there. There are something like 2 million encounters between Border Patrol and migrants, and virtually all of those are immediately deported or eventually deported, which he knows. They're not immediately handed a house in Ohio. That's not how any of that works. And so we go farther, but it's just nonsense. And it is just designed to get people who are angry about their economic position, instead of looking for some sort of solution. Does he advocate for aid to renters? A clearing of their rent so that they don't lose everything? You'll notice he does not do that. Instead, it's just hate the brown people, hate the people from Afghanistan. That's all he gives them.
He wants them, yeah, he doesn't want to pay for anything. He doesn't want to spend anything. He doesn't want to do any actual change of anything. He wants to give people something to be angry at that's free for him. That's it. It's free for him to do all this stuff. The other stuff costs resources and time and planning and everything, but he just wants to be like, critical race theory, that's it. That's a boogeyman. That doesn't exist. What he's complaining about with critical race theory doesn't exist. And with the and all the other issues aren't big issues, but they can become issues. It's the difference between manufacturing consent and what Fox does, which is manufacturing dissent. And that is exactly where we've headed with all of news and all of social media in this day and age. It's either like, it's crazy. It's uppers and downers nonstop. It is the thing that makes you most angry, and the thing that makes you feel so ecstatic that you can't parallel it. So that's why you seek out more of it. It's like really happy news and really horrible news. And they are manufacturing dissent. They come up with fake things for you to be mad at. Critical race theory is not taught in any of these schools. They want to redefine critical race theory as anything that reminds you that the presidents the people who founded this country owned slaves.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah, and look, you could help with rent. You could propose some sort of legislation to massively increase the amount of affordable housing that gets built, subsidized or directly built by the government. You could do so much. The infrastructure bill, green infrastructure to produce jobs in areas that people are moving out of, to thereby increase the effective housing supply. I mean, look, I'm not a policy expert in this area. I'm just a regular guy with a YouTube show. This isn't that complicated to come up with at least something. He knows this stuff. He doesn't care. As Brett said, he doesn't want to pay the money. He's not interested in the actual solutions. They are a means to an end. Anyway.
Yeah. And really there's people in the chat saying like ban corporate ownership of single family homes. You can, because that's another thing. Like there's giant investment groups that are buying up homes and renting them out. It's like somewhere between like hostile takeover and just Airbnb-ing America.
Agreed. Yeah. And so unfortunately, Anna is not going to be on the main show later on to talk about this, but I would love to hear. I wish she would do a live about this video. Anyway, we're gonna go into our last story, the first hour, in just a second, but really fast. Zombol sent in a super chat saying something seems off today. Is Brett not wearing socks? I just thought that was funny.
It's true.
You diagnosed it. Stoneflower Dragon says, love you, Brett. Tell it. Nice. Stephen Belgard says, we need a trashy emoji. Don't we have a trashy emoji on YouTube? I think there is a trashy emoji. Yeah, there's 100%. Maybe refresh,
no,
but it's
John,
there.
This is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to just say, all right, I put one on there. Try now.
It's there now. I just uploaded it. Anyway, do we have 10? I don't think we have 10 minutes. I think we have less than 10 minutes. But anyway, we are gonna get to this last story. Don't worry. I'm just gonna read one or two more comments. Jeremiah Maudlin sent in a big super chat. Thank you, Jeremiah, saying, John, please answer Brett's question. What does he have to do to get you? And I am going to assume you mean on game night. I would.
What
really
do I have to do to become the person when I ask you something, you're like, that is my plan. What do I got to do to become that level of like, oh, that's a plan. That is what's the word?
I support many of your plans.
Important to me.
Okay.
I'm just a guy.
We'll see.
Standing in front of a guy, sitting in front of a guy. I got no socks on.
Sitting in front of a camera in front of a guy.
Sitting in front of a camera in front of a guy with a tiny, comically tiny ring light about this big in front of a guy, asking him to play Fortnite with me.
I will see about that. But I'm not gonna be able to play Fortnite if Marissa kills me because we don't get to one more story, which we will.
There it begins. Those are John Iadarola excuses, everybody. It's Marissa's fault. Marissa, do you have any problem with John playing Fortnite tonight? No, she doesn't. No. All right, permission granted.
Oh wait. Okay, I figured it out. This is why we're not syndicated on radio. I knew I'd figured it out. Anyway, let's go into the last story. What do you not want to discuss this? Are you trying to block this?
No.
Anyway, here's the D block for you, so let's jump into it. Yesterday, it was announced, at least seemingly, that Onlyfans, a large and growing online platform, effectively an alternative for Patreon that is focused, not exclusively, there's a lot of types of content, but on a variety of different forms of sex work, videos, pictures, all that, is going to be getting rid of that component of its work, at least significantly. Now, we're gonna debate whether this is actually happening. There's a lot of conflicting information out there. But that said, here is something that OnlyFans put out in a statement yesterday saying effective the 1st of October, 2021, OnlyFans will prohibit the posting of any content containing sexually explicit conduct in order to ensure the long-term sustainability of the platform and to continue to host an inclusive community of creators and fans. We must evolve our content guidelines. Now, they did say that they would still allow certain posts containing nudity as long as they adhere to its acceptable use policy. Now, its terms of service currently outline a number of things that are prohibited from its platform, including material involving people under age 18 and other illegal or harmful content. They say they'll be sharing more details in the coming days, but you might have seen also going around responses from like their social media implying that the statement that was put out was not true. So there's a lot of questions. Brett, what do you think about this? Do you think they're actually doing it?
Okay, so there's a lot to this. First of all, the company itself has said, we have not said what this means. And everybody is running to the hills saying,
clear though.
What do they say? No sexually explicit content.
That seems pretty clear.
No, it isn't.
Isn't it?
We're still gonna allow nudity, but no sexually explicit content. Now where are you at?
Confused?
Tell me what that means.
I'm confused.
So it's not a clear statement. If it was a clear statement, you would walk away with it only saying I know exactly what that means.
No, I'm not saying that the entirety of it isn't clear. I'm saying the concerns that many people have, people who make their living on there by doing sexually explicit material, it seems pretty clear that will be banned. They say that will be banned.
So at that point, what conversation are we left to have? We can't have a conversation about the like specific kinds of things that won't be allowed on there, right?
Because we don't know yet, but speculate.
There's a film with Marlon Brando in it where he actually has sex on camera, and later it was found out that she did not expect that to happen. So those are real tears. That film's called Last Tango in Paris, and that's available at Blockbuster, maybe, like back in the day. So where does the line stop? That's something we don't know the answer to yet. So is there someone who's saying, well, actually, this is artful short film? We don't know. And that's why OnlyFans came out and said, like, we're going to guide our creators through this process. So that's in terms of the specifics and what it affects. We're in a speculating area. And in that speculation, there's plenty to talk about. There's plenty to talk about, which it is very likely that there are people who used to make their money by doing sex acts in person. Now they are selling video of their sex acts on OnlyFans, which was a boon in a time of COVID where you couldn't physically interact with anybody because it was even more dangerous than it already was. All those things are in jeopardy, and that uncertainty now is putting us in a position where we don't know what they're going to do. And all we do know is that it's once again in a place where this taboo subject of sex work, which is incidentally as old as time, and there's irony and hypocrisy in there, is once again, the people who make the laws are still engaging in that activity. And we see those all the time. What are we doing where we're putting it away? Now, there's a middle ground where you keep it away from children. Fine, that's gonna be in there. Why OnlyFans? And the answer is the reason that OnlyFans is now changing their policy is because of money. The people who own it are looking for more investors. And this is another very old dynamic in the online sex industry. PayPal is not gonna take that sex money. They're not. So there's companies like CCBill that exist out there that are just to do the transactions for adult sites because the above board and legitimate companies won't do that. And that has to do with transactions financially. And it also, another category of that is the applications, the apps. So on your phone, you can make an app whenever you want, however you want. But if you want people to be able to download it on Android, you got to go through their shop. If you want to do it on Apple, you got to do it through their shop. And they don't want, because of their reputation, this dirty money in there. Now, they'll allow that dirty money to get them to a point where they're now in a position to have certain appealing things about their company that now they're going to forget how they got there and go legit, leaving all these people who got them their success by funding it through the transactions, and they made 20% of all that take. Now the pimp's going legit and kicking everybody to the curb.
Yeah, including the more than 300 OnlyFans creators reportedly earning at least $1 million annually, 16,000 making at least $50,000 a year in very difficult times. And even aside from the pandemic and its effect on this sort of work, obviously having a platform like OnlyFans has some undeniable inherent benefits in terms of safety, privacy, and all of that as well. Yeah, you're right. I wish we had more time to go into this, but yes, MasterCard and Visa cut ties with Pornhub. Recently, it's speculated that that's part of this as well. I guess feel like some fairly obvious other ways to solve the variety of problems that are a part of this come to mind that wouldn't necessarily not only cast aside all these people that made them what they are, but leave them with a platform that might be more legit. But what's going to be like what's the benefit over Patreon at this point? Anyway, we're gonna have obviously more discussion of this coming up. For right now, if you wanna know about the effect this is gonna have on a lot of the individual creators, there's some great threads on Twitter about that, people talking about it and about what they're going to do to try to adapt to this and not be ruined as a result of it. But anyway, more to come. For now though, we are out of time. So thank you for watching. If you're on Twitch, YouTube, there's more coming up. Short break, we'll be back after this. Welcome back, everyone, to the Friday show with me and Brett. We've got some more news to jump into, but before we do that, reminder, the multicast is now done. YouTube.com/The Young Turks is a great place to watch the Young Turks every day, the full stream. I recommend it. You can go there. Don't have to be a subscriber or a member. You can watch the show. In fact, on today's show, I'm going to be doing the first hour with Cenk Uygur and Ben Glebe, and then Nina Turner in studio. That is crazy, but it's coming up soon. You can watch it. Okay, let's read some
really quick. I want to make a correction. Someone with better, I misremembered something. And it was really significant and terrible. The actress Maria Schneider in Last Tango in Paris felt humiliated and said she felt as though she'd been raped. And I misremembered that as like an actual rape on screen. The point still holds, but obviously the facts were wildly wrong and stupid, and I apologize. I would like that corrected. And it's not going to be when we break it out online. It's not going to have that in there. So thank you for looking out always. And again, my apologies. I should know better.
Thank you, audience, for fact checking. Jessica says in the super chat, the Argument podcast recently had a really great discussion about critical race theory, and it explained it a bit more for me than what I had thought it meant. I wish every American would listen to it then, but you understand it better. Most of the people most passionate about it do not. Lena PK Lena says in the super chat, how sexually explicit is defined by certain platforms, institutions, etc., and how much those definitions vary absolutely boggles me. Yes. And the thing is, there's still obviously like there's so much progress still to be made in this area, but I do think there has been some, at least, not in terms of the financial side, regrettably, which is devastating. But the fact that, I think that the conversation about this shows how some of the insane stigma has been taken away. And I would assume that if OnlyFans does go through with the worst version of what people think this is going to be, and so many of the creators are thrown aside, it seems almost certain that there will be a platform that will take its place. Some platform will realize that there's an obvious market for this, talented creators and all that. We'll see. Tell me what to put said in the Twitch chat. Didn't Tumblr do something similar to what OnlyFans is currently doing? They purged a bunch of sexually explicit content from their platform, right? So yes, I'm not a big Tumblr user, but my recollection of it is that they did do a big purge, and seemingly for similar business related reasons. Okay, with that, let's jump into the news. We are drawing closer and closer to the attempted recall election of Governor Newsom here in California. And so we wanted to start to talk about some of those who, in theory, because of the way that the elections work here, could become the next governor. And one of the most high profile names is Larry Elder. So Larry Elder is a former lawyer, an author, and radio host for a number of years. And with that long history, as more and more stuff comes out, not painting the best picture necessarily of this individual who could become the governor. Let's walk through a couple instances of this. In a book that he wrote back in 2002, he suggested that women aren't dedicated. He says, are there legitimate business reasons for a venture capitalist to ask a female entrepreneur whether and when she intends to have children? Hell yes. Elder defended venture capitalists asking women whether they plan to have children by comparing it to sports teams forbidding their players from engaging in hazardous conduct not related to their sport. Call it protecting an investment. I guess you could call it that. I could think of a few other things to call it. We got other examples of this, Brett, but what are you thinking so far? Governor material?
You sound like a real nice guy. Yeah, he sounds horrible. He is horrible. Larry Elder sucks. Like known suckitude for a very long time.
Very much so. Am I remembering it correctly? Or did Dr. Rashad Ritchie debate Larry Elder? Or is that not one of the, he hasn't appeared on the show? I thought for some reason he was one of the more high profile ones. But anyway, let's find out more about him. So in the early 2000s, he maintained a page on his personal website, geocities.com/Larry Elder. I'm kidding, that's not what it was. On women and domestic violence statistics, citing 3 articles that alleged a narrative that violence against women was exaggerated for political gain of feminists, which is a crazy thing to believe, whether you believed it in the early 2000s or whether that's your response to literally every claim of sexual harassment or sexual assault today. Because look, this is obviously bad in the 2000s. It's also very common for those on the right now. Let's see, he mocked premenstrual syndrome, known as PMS, calling it "punish my spouse." He prominently promoted on his webpage a 1950s textbook on how to be a good wife that said women should have dinner ready and told them don't complain. He reposted an article on his website comparing single mothers on welfare to stray cats. I don't know the full extent of the metaphor. Maybe it was enlightening. I'm guessing not. He also, by the way, was accused by his ex-fiance of once waving a gun at her and other acts of intimidation throughout their relationship. It kind of goes on, but yet a pattern starts to develop where you kind of get an idea of how this guy views the more than 50% of the people that might soon be his constituents, whether they like it or not. Thoughts?
In the last recall election, there was a big name floating around, and that's why he won. Recall elections are crazy. To give you an idea, Larry Elder almost didn't make it into the recall election because there are special rules for recall elections. A tax return filing requirement that applies to normal elections, a judge found does not apply to recall elections. Like there's different rules, and those different rules might result in this guy, not Arnold Schwarzenegger, becoming the next governor of California. Why? A lot of reasons. One, the one I just told you. But secondly, the way that recall elections work is you vote at the same time for whether you want to recall and the replacement. And the person who wins the replacement vote, like their threshold they don't need to get half of it. If everyone gets 9% of the vote and some person gets 10% of the vote, that person who got 1 in 10 votes in the recall election, second question, becomes the governor of California.
Well, and in theory, you could have, well, okay, I guess in theory, someone could get the plurality, but not the majority. Okay, then have a runoff. Like at that point, between the one that they clearly don't want, and no, it could be 9%, it could be 2% if you get enough chuckleheads in there. And they have right now.
And to make matters worse, Gavin Newsom and the Democrats in California have not backed a backup candidate.
Yeah.
Last time Gray Davis was up for recall, they were like, all right, worst case scenario, Bustamante.
Yeah.
Who was a Democrat. But then Gray Davis lost the recall vote and then lost, and then the person who won after that was Arnold Schwarzenegger. This time, all the Democrats are like, just vote no, and then see what happens. So it's between Larry Elder and a YouTuber right now.
Yeah. And if that has to be the way, I'll be the backup. I'll put myself forward if they want. Kind of don't think they'll go down that road, but yeah, it's a crazy system. California's done a lot of experimentation. In some ways, I think it's positive, but we're about to find out how dark it could potentially go.
Listen,
Jesus.
The right turn on red. California invented the right turn on red. Every other invention we've had has been so stupid.
That's true. That's true. Okay, anyway, we have to rush ahead. We only have a few minutes to talk about this because I want to make sure we have a good amount of time for garbage. So let's jump right into this. Nice. Joe Biden has announced that he's going to be canceling student loan debt, but not like the whole thing, like a little bit, but it will be helpful for some people. They say they will automatically wipe out federal student loan debt for borrowers who have a total and permanent disability, as it is done for veterans with a severe disability, meaning more than 323,000 borrowers who receive more than $5.8 billion in automatic student loan discharges. So now previously, the federal government offers student debt relief for people who are totally and permanently disabled and have limited incomes, but the current rules require them to submit documentation of their disability and undergo a 3-year monitoring period to prove they're earning little pay. And a bunch of people, tens of thousands of people, have been dropped from the program and had their loans reinstated because they failed to submit proof of their earnings. It's complex. So this is a simplified thing that will get rid of that student loan debt. And that is obviously good news for 323,000 people, particularly in a time of rising costs of college and an economy that is rougher than it has been for some time. So that is certainly good news. But obviously the turn is coming. $5.8 billion of cancellation is good, but when you bear in mind that we have about 1.59 trillion of it, not as good. Canceling it for 323,000 borrowers is good, but when there are 42.9 people holding the debt, not as good. And this is like the third time, I think, that the Biden administration has chosen to cancel a very small slice of the debt. And it's good, but it also feels like a reminder of what they could do, but choose not to. And playing devil's advocate, Brett, they say they're still not sure about the legality of a broader cancellation, but they are doing some cancellations along the way.
I think it's Anna who keeps saying, like, don't be afraid to be popular. Like, what are they gonna do? You can flex, and people respect it when you flex, by the way. Like, if you just flex and go like, I just voided all that student debt. What are you gonna do about it? Reinstate the student debt? Is that what you wanna do? Is that your political calculation? No. Yeah. It is all the large financial institutions that are like, do not get anywhere near, whether it's a federal forgiveness or any other version of student debt. That is a very lucrative business for us. So if you start getting in there and doing anything that affects student debt in a way that's even remotely controversial at all, we will seize upon it and fight back on it. And worse, we'll withhold our financial contributions from you and find somebody else to keep our little nest egg safe. As people who are, I mean, I know people who have I'm worthless parties, which means they are no longer in debt. They're like 39 and they just paid off their student loans. And they have a party to say I'm worth $0 now.
Yeah. There's also like car loans and stuff like that, credit cards. Hopefully cleared out all that. Yeah, it's rough. It's rough. That would be a goal after decades of your career. Totally. Yeah, I like Anna's thing. It made me think like, don't be threatened by a good time, like to spin the thing you hear so often. Do it, and if the Republicans want to challenge it, make them challenge it. Fight over that for the next year. Fight, be the fighter who's trying to make sure that their loan debt gets canceled, and have the Republicans line up on the other side if that's what you want. Do that. Anyway, good news for these individuals, the more than a third of a million people who are going to have their loan debt canceled. That is great, and I want that same thing for tens of millions of other Americans who deserve it. Okay, with that, we are going to launch in just one moment into the big show of the show, what you've all been waiting for. I'm going to read just a couple of super chats before that. Let's see. Charles says new emoji could be a literal trash can person. We do kind of have that, actually. It's there. Strayek says, please, John, you need to run. The most popular person in the polls right now is Meet Kevin Paffrath, who is center right at best. I'm not familiar with that particular YouTuber. By the way, I can suggest other YouTubers. I don't know if they live in California necessarily, but there's a lot of other great YouTubers I would love to see governor before
John.
Some of these.
I accept.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay. I hadn't thought about it, and I'm free, I guess. I make myself available.
Yeah.
If I was governor of California, John,
we got to wrap up. Okay.
Would you play Fortnite with me?
No, you'd be too busy. I wouldn't do that to you. You owe your constituents a lot. Anyway, we ready to do this? Okay, sorry, there was a suggestion of Anna Akana, who is a YouTuber, lives in California. Let's try that. Okay, let's do this. It's time. It's the end of the week, and so it's time to take out the trash. Okay, it's been a trashy old week. So Brett, who's your garbage person of the week?
My garbage person of the week is someone, I'm not sure if they've been a garbage person yet, but it's Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson,
wait,
because
who is this?
Tucker. I'm using a T, but the name actually starts with F on his birth certificate, and I'm going to need to see the long form birth certificate. Tucker Carlson is, and I might have said that wrong, but then again, so did Jan Bongino. Tucker Carlson is going after Adam Kinzinger in this very petulant, ongoing feud, where one time So Adam Kinzinger does not like Tucker Carlson. And so Tucker Carlson is finding ways to pee on Adam Kinzinger, and he's seizing upon this crying thing, which I'll explain in a second. But it is an ongoing issue. Here is a clip from Tucker Carlson's show where he talks about Adam Kinzinger crying. Take a look.
We brought you reports last night that Congressman Adam Kinzinger of Illinois had been seen crying again. We promised to get to the bottom of that story. Members of Congress are technically speaking sent to Washington to vote and not to weep, and so we thought it was worth following up. Tonight we have an update on that.
So he has an update. So this is not the first time he's talked about Adam Kinzinger crying. You might ask, what was the deal? The reason that Adam Kinzinger cried in the first place, I'm going to save for the end of this, just to reveal how horrible Tucker Carlson is. But here is the update that Tucker Carlson has on his show.
Congressman Kinzinger has been spotted crying again, according to our sources, in a place where you rarely see tears, in Waffle House. You're seeing the Waffle House location on your screen. If you look closer, you will see Adam Kinzinger clearly distraught, crying inside a restaurant that serves waffles. According to our sources, it's unclear exactly why he was crying. A shortage of boysenberry syrup, said one. Links, patties were not available, said another. We can't tell you more.
You can't tell us more because you made it up, you photoshopped it. This is a bit that he has.
Yeah.
He was not crying in a Waffle House. People cry in Waffle House all the time because it's where you eat when you're drunk. And third, all that stuff that Tucker is listing to try to convince you that he is ever in his life been to a Waffle House is all totally made up. He asked an intern, what is a waffle? Is it just waffles? What do they have? Well, give me a word like patties. Oh, that's a patties is probably what they call the
IHOP.
I don't know. I've never been to a Waffle House, but I'm not from that area. But I've been to IHOP. Okay, here's the reason. And then we'll show you the next story that he did after this to show you how ridiculous Tucker Carlson is. The reason that Adam Kinzinger was crying in the first place was because he was listening to the account of a police officer who was beaten on January 6th.
This is that PR we were talking about.
During the hearing on January 6th, Adam Kinzinger was overcome with a little bit of emotion and didn't cry. He may have teared up, but Adam Kinzinger, who's no friend of mine, got emotional because America was under attack. And so Tucker is doing everything he can to belittle other people, including masquerading as a man of the people who knows jack squat about Waffle House. Up yours, Tucker Carlson. But listen, Tucker only spent a very brief time on that bit of news before moving on to the next story, which was wildly important. Here's his transition.
But if we see Adam Kinzinger crying again, you will see it here first. So for many years, UFOs were the province of wackos.
It's the biggest news show in the country.
There you go.
So yeah, I love that you pointed out what it was that started this. Again, it's PR for domestic terrorists. If you criticize domestic terrorists, you're the bad guy, not the domestic terrorists. Anyway, my biggest issue with it is I didn't think he was actually at a Waffle House crying. I get that he was doing a bit. It has been sucked dry of anything even accidentally funny. There's no humor to it, no levity. He's not enjoying it. The person who wrote it didn't enjoy it. The person who photoshopped it didn't enjoy it. Were people at home laughing?
Yes.
I can't imagine that they were.
Yeah, they were though. They were.
It's not funny. There's no joke. I don't understand what the problem that the right has with humor. Don't they have comedians they like?
I'll tell you exactly what it is. They do the laugh that's not based on them actually finding it funny. It's their desperate need to avoid personal responsibility. Even though the personal responsibility of critical race theory, which they keep going to, is not, there is no, I don't voice personal responsibility on you for all the legacy of racism in America. But the perception that maybe, because they know that's guilt that they have, the perception that they might need to pay attention to the guilt, their desperation to avoid that, any responsibility, is what drives it. And that's why they're like,
ugh. It's an unwatchable show. Anyway, for my garbage person of the week, I've got a classic for you, and it is going to be Elon Musk, because of his most recent announcement that his company is working on a humanoid robot that will build a prototype sometime next year. You can see a photo of it. We'll go to, the photo looks perfectly fine. My issue is that Elon Musk and Tesla, who have gobbled up every engineer in the country that has ungodly amounts of money, some of it given by the government, continues to do this stupid BS. And I know what you're probably thinking. Oh wait, John, you're acting as if this is serious. I think it's just a joke or whatever. Sure, I'm sure there's a good chance it's just a joke, and that's kind of part of the problem. That, like, I don't know, the company that has the most potential to do significant things just constantly jokes around, or maybe not. The flamethrower was supposed to be a joke and then he made it. Most of these things are just jokes until he puts tons of time and resources and thought and engineers into it. I tweeted about this. I have a simple request. It's a complex idea. Maybe he could put his best engineers on it. And it is, could your car company make a car people can afford? That would be a great problem to crack. It's not a walking robot, but it could actually help some people. It might improve the country, but no, that's not as fun as coming up with jokes or stealing memes or talking about your boring company that after years made a tunnel that one car could go through or whatever. He's the genius, I know, and more importantly, he's surrounded himself with actual geniuses, but this is a stupid BS that he does. And it annoys me in multiple ways. One, that there are actual problems that his group has the talent to solve, and two, that in making a mockery of all this, he makes me not excited for humanoid robots or space travel or flamethrowers or whatever. I want to be able to enjoy those things, but he's ruined it because of all the wasted potential. I'm not even going into the details about it, about the stupid robot, because he's not gonna make it. They still don't have self-driving cars that actually work. He's gonna make a robot that walks around. It's a slightly different thing, but he acts as if everything is a joke, and it's just, there are actual crises. We need our best minds on them. Brett, tell me how I'm the bad guy. I'm
John,
sure I'm the bad guy.
Well, you've seen Ex Machina so many times that I just can't believe you on this.
Like 3 times.
All right, I've seen it like 5 times.
It's a very good movie.
Such a good movie. But if the robot wasn't so hot, I'd be on your side. But there's something about that sleek.
What?
Just that sleek bod. It's eye-catching.
Strapless tunic. You are now my garbage.
Like Marjorie Tyrell.
It does dress like Marjorie. It's the Taquito 2000 that we've got there. Anyway, yeah, he's not gonna make it. I hate him. I just hate him. I hate everything about him. Anyway,
and his promotion was like, it's a robot that won't fight back, and just like flailing to be like, fight back like what? A wife, a slave, a worker, a what? What is the won't fight back? Benefit of the doubt. You're saying like, this is not an android that will cause the end of the world.
That's good branding. Anyway, that's my garbage person. But more importantly, what did you all think? So 26,000 of you voted in our poll this week, and here are your top 5. Coming in at number 5 with 4% of the vote is Charlie Kirk for his comments about Ilhan and Omar. He only got 4% because he's the worst and nobody likes him. Even the people who hate these people don't really care that much about him. That is Charlie Kirk. Coming in at number 4 with 10% of the vote is Sean Hannity for using the crisis in Afghanistan to sell products. Thankfully, it looks like that has ended for now. Number 3 with 17% of the vote, Representative Boebert for praising the Taliban for building back better. Ugh. Number 2 with 21% of the vote, Tucker Carlson for immediately vilifying Afghan refugees. That seems like a bit, I never can guess who's gonna win. I thought that would have won. But your garbage person of the week, chosen by the community with 47% of the vote, is the GOP for scrubbing the Trump-Taliban deal from their website. So and look, substantively, trying to bamboozle people into not understanding how broad the blame for the situation there is worthy of it. So thank you to all of you who voted. Thank you, Brett, for joining us on this Friday edition of the Damage Report. It's great to have you here.
Great to be here, John. Thank you so much, and thanks to the D Squad and all the mods.
Thank you. You can watch them on Comment Room later on. For now, though, stay safe out there. Stay sane out there. I'll see you soon.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Indisputable. Good to be with you. Let me first start the show by saying this. Yesterday, there was a post on YouTube from one of the segments of this show. That post contained a derogatory word that I completely and 100% disagree with. As soon as I saw it, I alerted those who were involved in the production of it, and I made sure it was changed. Now, the buck stops with me. There is no one else to blame. There is no one else to look for. The buck stops right here with me. It is my responsibility, even if it's not my fault. What I want to say to those that may have been offended by that terminology, I'm sorry. And I hope that the trust that I've garnered over this time with you means something. You know that we believe in diversity, we believe in equity, we believe in fairness. What you saw yesterday was not our best. You deserve our best, and you'll get our best. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a lot of show today. Breaking down news of the day, I got my big homie, David Schuster, TYT contributor. And in the bullpen, my debate guest will be none other than radio personality Shelley Winter, talking about social media suspensions. And we may get into some COVID-19 news of the day as well. Let me give you my top story. There's a black woman who has been knocked unconscious by a sheriff's deputy. That's according to a federal lawsuit. This arrest was violent. This arrest was unnecessary. Her name is Nakia Porter. She's 33 years of age, a software engineer. She is suing Solano County Police Department in Northern California for her violent arrest last summer. I want to go to these videos, okay? Let's go to the first video. What you're watching in that video was real simple. The young lady is switching sides with her father. That's all they're doing. They pulled over in order to switch who's driving, nothing more. Now, I want to also remind you, children are in the back seat. You have 3 children total inside of this vehicle. You have her father, and you have this young 33-year-old engineer. Here's what happens next.
We're about to switch drivers. Read me my rights. King 6 starts with 30. Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back. I am not arrested.
Okay. So as you heard the father say, we're just trying to switch drivers here, okay? They decided to go ahead and arrest her. Now, I want to remind you, charges were dismissed. She did not have different license tags on her car that should have been there, but that was according to the initial police report, really a prerequisite in order to engage them criminally. And here's what happened that caused her to go unconscious.
Get on her stomach now. You're gonna get tased. How did she get it open? She slipped it. Double lock. Okay. King 6, we still have a male in the front passenger seat. The x-ray is detained, but we still need cover. Sorry. It's fine.
Copy, you have an x-ray detained and a male in the passenger seat.
King 6, stars 11, 41, kill 3. The x-ray, I believe she's unconscious.
Yeah, she was unconscious. You're right, because of your violence. You're correct, officer. She's completely unconscious. Let me give you some more background to this story. Body cameras worn by the deputies with the Solano County Sheriff's Office recorded them pulling guns on Nakia Porter before slamming her to the pavement while handcuffing her along a rural road in the town of Dixon on the night of August 6, 2020. Porter's father, his name is Joe Powell, was also placed in handcuffs and briefly detained. Now, neither one of them did anything illegal whatsoever, okay? None of them. It gets deeper. Porter was jailed overnight on suspicion of resisting arrest. You gotta be kidding me. But never charged. She said the ordeal was confusing and dehumanizing. Look at this beautiful family. Let's put a picture of the family up. Look at that beautiful family. I want to remind you, the kids were in the back seat witnessing this whole thing, okay? On the night of August 6, 2020, Porter was traveling back home to Orangevale from a trip to Oakland with her father, 2 daughters and a niece. She and her father were switching seats so that he could drive when the police squad car pulled up behind their vehicle, according to CBS News Bay Area. Porter says that during the arrest, she was knocked unconscious and dragged to the back of a police car. The deputy's squad car pulled up behind them with lights flashing. This is how it first started. Porter already was out of the car and explained they were just switching drivers and would be on their way according to the court filing. Remember, they have filed in federal court against these deputies. The deputy said they noticed the car had mismatched license plates, a California plate on the back of the car, and one from Maryland on the front. However, the deputies had called in the rear license plate to their dispatch and knew that it matched the description of the car and that there was no report of the car being stolen, according to the filing. Wow, they were well aware that there was nothing wrong with this vehicle at all. McCampbell, that's the person who had the gun drawn, ordered Porter back to the driver's side, and he and his partner moved to detain her, according to the edited body camera footage. The Associated Press reports that the body cameras worn by the police recorded them pulling guns on Porter before slamming her to the pavement. They also handcuffed her 61-year-old father. And you heard on that video, when they realized that she was unconscious, the cop says, I think she's unconscious. Yeah, because that's what you did to her, okay? Complete overkill, 100% unnecessary. Dehumanizing is not even the word to describe it. David, how do you see this, my friend?
I'm so infuriated and I'm so saddened by this stuff that it happens day after day. Obviously, white cops, black family in the car. The cops could have, look, I'm fine with the police turning on their flashing lights to the point at which, the woman gets out of the car, they say, hey, where's your switching seats? And the cop should have said, okay, can we just check out a couple of things? But instead, there is a presumption of police fearing the worst based on the skin color of who they pull over, and it is disgusting. I hope the Porter family is able to sue this county for millions of dollars. And to me, this justifies why we need a national database so that cops like McCampbell and that other jackass, so that they get recorded into a database so they can never get hired again in any law enforcement capacity ever. It is disgusting. This has to come to an end. At a certain point, every county in America is gonna have to come to terms and say, we are doing something terribly wrong with our police. There's something institutionally flawed about this culture in police where they suspect the worst instead of protecting and serving. They have a responsibility to de-escalate, not to escalate. That didn't happen in this case. To me, this is a slam dunk case for the lawsuit, and everybody in this county ought to be embarrassed.
Absolutely, man, and you brought up something very important because there is a solution on the table. It's called the George Floyd Policing and Accountability Act. Well, that act would actually require a uniform reporting policy to report officers like this, even if they are still on the job. It would mandate a reporting mechanism be in place. We know transparency equals typically a better policy. And that's why we fought for cameras to be a regular as it relates to the institution of policing. We've been fighting to make sure that anytime there's a complaint on a cop, there's a way for the public to be able to view that. And we need this national uniform policy for policing in the United States. It's only good, not only for policing, but it's good also for the citizens of this country because their public trust has been completely evaporated because of incidents like this and more. Let me shift gears. You know, a lot of these individuals who are anti-mask are extremely racist. They are very racist people. Let me bring your attention to a mask mandate drama that unfolded in Michigan, okay? This is Birmingham, Michigan, not Birmingham, Alabama, Birmingham, Michigan. The police are investigating where a man who gave the Nazi salute during a school meeting committed a hate crime. The meeting was already filled with anti-maskers who booed and spewed insults at anyone in favor of the mask mandate. You know who they did not boo? This guy. They didn't boo him. The Nazi guy. No, he gets no boos at all. He gets praised, okay? While a black woman and Jewish woman were addressing the board about their support for the mask policy, a man in the audience flashed the Nazi salute and repeated "Hail Hitler." Two men behind him also uttered the phrase. They're supporting him, okay? Suzanne Besdiker attended the meeting and witnessed the incident. She said a friend was giving a speech in support of a school mask mandate about how she had lost a loved one to COVID-19. Very familiar story to many. The friend had already been heckled through her emotional speech. When Besdiker and the friend turned to leave the podium, they saw the gesture from a man standing in the audience. Suzanne said, and I quote, "And there was this man that raised his hand in the Hail Hitler sign, not just kind of froze. I'm Jewish. I don't take that lightly." It's now under investigation whether he committed a hate crime. The person in the audience who gave the salute on Tuesday night was immediately removed from the meeting and building by the Beverly Hills Police Department. The police questioned the man during the meeting and are investigating whether he committed a hate crime. In a letter to parents, the superintendent said that the Birmingham Public Schools emphatically denounces and will not tolerate any act of racism, disrespect, violence, and or inequitable treatment of any person, including actions and statements made at Board of Education meetings. But here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, this is not an isolated situation. This is common with these anti-mask, anti-vax crowds. In a town outside of Pittsburgh on August 9th, a man there flashed a Nazi salute after board members approved a universal mask mandate, according to the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Now here's a compilation video of statements from anti-masker parents that always receive applause.
BPS has decided to mask up our children, but once again, your announcement has fallen short of providing evidence, data, which we have continuously asked for, science, common sense, and now human decency. Forced mask mandates for something that has an almost 0% chance of killing them is child abuse. So I have to ask, why are you really doing this? It's not to protect our kids, they don't need it. It's not to protect adults because they can get a COVID vaccine if they want to. And many of us have the antibodies. So what is the reason? If you ask me, I'd say you do it to protect yourselves politically, period.
It's gonna end.
Never.
Our children will never see the freedoms that we enjoyed growing up. They are not even free to breathe fresh air. If God wanted us to cover our mouth and nose, he would have made us that way.
My daughter will not be subjected to what she was to last year. Our daughter is healing, and we will not interrupt this process for her. We will be, because of the mandate, pulling her out of BPS schools. I don't know if any of you were abused or put in a situation you did not want to be in as a child, either emotionally, physically, or mentally, but I was. And it took me years to recover. I know Josephine's story may be the only one you hear tonight, but I wonder how many other students are suffering in silence
Yeah, ma'am, your child is suffering under you. Abuse, child abuse. You gotta be kidding me. There are real monsters in this world. And there are real victims in this world. Having a child wear a mask in order to protect themselves from a debilitating virus is not child abuse. You invalidate, or at least attempt to invalidate, the stories, the authentic stories of children that have gone through actual abuse. That's what you're doing. Now, remember, ladies and gentlemen, these are the same people. These anti-mask individuals are the same people who would prefer to take your choice away. Remember, they're not just holding rallies and talking at board meetings. They're ripping off masks of teachers. They're physically assaulting those that wear masks. They're threatening on camera in anyone who believes that masks work. David, you see what's happening here, brother. What are your thoughts?
Oh, my thoughts are it's sickening that these are parents, right? And I'll start with the low-hanging fruit. There was the mom who said, if God wanted us, if God had made us, if God wanted us to have something over our face, he would have made us that way. And she's speaking with glasses on, and she's speaking through a microphone, okay? So that's the first problem. Secondly, the whole point, as far as I can tell from some of these anti-maskers, is they don't want to cause any emotional or psychological damage to their kids having to wear masks. Okay, did you ask the kids if it's okay? Because most kids who are in elementary school, they don't have a problem with it. And by the way, if we're so concerned about emotional and psychological damage, then maybe you shouldn't be giving the Heil Hitler salute. Maybe you shouldn't be making such a fool of yourself in front of your kids and in front of your entire community. That is where the psychological damage is being caused by these parents who are anti-science, by these parents who are literally off the charts. These kids are so terrified and embarrassed of their parents. That's where the damage is being caused. It's not the masks. And at a certain point, the parents need to step back and say, fine, you have an opinion about this? Let's have a calm, rational, reasonable, fact-based, science-based debate, if there is a debate. But to go off the deep end like this, that is truly sickening and disturbing.
Very well said, brother. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable, stick and stay.
I'm old enough that I remember when Captain Crunch put the berries in it.
Yay, crunch berries!
And I was like, ooh, the fake berries.
Remember?
We're gonna try that.
We did a story back in the day about how a woman sued, General Mills.
She'd been eating it for 4 years, believing that it was actual berries. Yeah, she's like, these aren't real berries at all. Yeah. I'm like, I got news for you, Captain Crunch isn't really a captain or a person. Joining me now, legendary whistleblower and American hero, Edward Snowden. First question is, hey, where are you?
I'm in my apartment in Moscow.
All of a sudden, in the studio, Jim Gaffigan, everybody.
Mental illness is, completely undiagnosed in our society.
It's not about a particular administration. It's about a broken system of power, and through that, really, the instrumentalization of a system of not justice, but injustice.
People understand whether they claim to deny climate change or not. Our collective house is in crisis. We're also dealing with the legacy of 40 years of economic policies that have made people's lives more precarious.
Sometimes you got to force people into their humanity. Sometimes you have to shake people into empathy.
Senator Elizabeth Warren joins us in the studio.
Healthcare is a basic human right, and we are fighting for basic human rights.
In order to actually achieve that vision of everyone having access to the same resources and getting to determine the outcome of their life, we have a lot of work to do, and it needs to start right now.
Here's something you may not know. When you deposit your money in a big bank, it doesn't just sit, safe and secure, in a vault. Instead, your money could end up building oil pipelines, mining for coal, or drilling in the Arctic. So if you're concerned about the planet, give your money something good to do. Make the move to green with Aspiration's fossil fuel-free account and join the thousands each week who are switching to save their dollars and save the planet at the same time.
Welcome to the Damage Report. I'm John Iadarola. This is gonna be a big one.
What Donald Trump has done as president has cut taxes for the wealthy and made life better for rich people. But he's made life worse for poor people.
We're making America great again by throwing more money at the military to destroy other countries because that makes us great instead of investing it in ourselves.
That it's Donald Trump and it's Stephen Miller. The choosing is based on wanting to create cruel and inhumane conditions to scare other people away from ever coming to the United States.
The opportunity to make money off of tragedy is the American way.
There is only one place to put garbage people: in the trash.
We've never had so much access to so much information with so little idea of what the hell is going on.
What does enforcing our borders have to do with traumatizing children? Absolutely nothing.
I think a sane person could say the current situation we have right now is radical. But what we're doing is literally making the world more like hell. That's a warning sign.
ShopTYT.com now has books. One of them is Ryan Grimm's book, We've Got People. That's a saying that AOC said, they've got money, we've got people. It's the best tracing of the AOC victory I have seen anywhere. It's the most accurate, and it's got great details. The book actually goes all the way back to Jesse Jackson and how he's the original Bernie Sanders. If you want to know how we're going to win going forward, those lessons are super important, and they're in Ryan's book. So check it out right now at ShopTYT.com.
We found the perfect person to lead the army, Allison Hartson.
The establishment media works hand in glove with our corporate legislators, and our corporate legislators work hand in glove with the corporation. And we're going to make it so that it's a decentralized force throughout the country, so that we can quickly identify stories, quickly identify troll farms, and go in and neutralize the enemy, and then start building responsible media throughout the country and on every platform available.
All right, welcome back. We got a lot of viewer comments. Let's get to it. I feel good that it's Friday, by the way. I hope you all are having a remarkable Friday. Thank you all for chiming in. Let's get it. TYT member Mickey C, the Silver Hair Dragon says, yes, there needs to be a national database, but there must be penalties like losing funding for hiring repeat offenders. Otherwise, far too many departments will use it to happily hire the racist and most violent ones that reflect the customs of that department. You may have a point there, right? That some police departments would actually say, hey, this is your hiring list, rather than being shamed into hiring those people. We've seen people recruit based on that before. So you make a good point. Let's go to Land of 10,000 Rinks. I wish TYT would also have a David Schuster show.
Oh, I don't know about that. I don't think people want that. I'm perfectly happy being a guest and letting you guys do the heavy lifting, Dr. Richie and your producers, Jordan, everybody else. This is the appropriate place for me. Everybody should just watch Dr. Richie. Be satisfied that you got Dr. Richie on TYT. Be satisfied, be happy.
Well, brother, I echo what that viewer said, man. You would have a remarkable show. YouTube super chat, Robert Ryder, thank you for that very generous gift. A donation in memory of my father, James Ryder, and in memory of one of my favorite Brit comedians, John Locke. Well, thank you for that so much. Jeffrey Ritchie says, Dr. Ritchie, my wife was brutalized by police in 2013. We sued in federal court, damn qualified immunity. And that's exactly the barrier that we're trying to fight. Sorry that happened to your wife and you, Jeffrey. Kelly O'Hara says, this is my poet. Too many adults acting like kids. Guess their development hit the skids. Wearing a mask shouldn't be a big ask. Know your role and cover your hole. Okay, that's good. I like it, Kelly. Non-human humanist says probably the parents should also receive free science-based public education. In some counties, it's not only free, but you get paid for it. That's true. There are some programs that will pay you. Bernie the Kiwi Dragon. God made us naked. Why is that parent wearing clothes? Also, fresh air. In a country that keeps ripping up its environmental regulations, these parents need to be sent back to school. Yeah, I agree 100%. Jake's Dragon says, my special needs 9-year-old was physically bullied repeatedly. He, a child, was expected to de-escalate those situations. He was suspended when he fought back, but adult police get away with violence. That's a hell of a point, Jake. And you're right. Those that work in that arena, that is your protocol. Your protocol is to teach a special needs child to de-escalate a situation, and the responsibility is put back on them. But cops don't want that responsibility for their profession. Doesn't make sense. Robin Hood, when you gonna have Jake back on? Soon, but I'm on the main show today, okay? So it's kind of the same thing, right? All right, Peyton Place, 1966. We love you and your co-host, Dr. Richie. This is one that I cannot miss each day. Well, thank you for that. David Lee, David, awesome. Have him on more, please, and we shall. He is awesome. Comrade Soul Twitch. This is why I haven't gotten a driver's license yet. All right, Dragon Goddess 420. Those poor kids are now being taught that they are victims. Yeah, yep. Okay. My next story, ladies and gentlemen, includes 2 ex-cops who allegedly spray painted a swastika onto a suspect's car. Now, this is just sick as hell, okay? Let me give you some background to this. 2 California officers, and let me put up a picture of the police chief. 2 ex-California officers have pleaded not guilty to spray painting a suspect's car with a swastika and a happy face. The former officers, Cody Weldon, 28 years of age, and Christopher Tomsick, 29, both left the Torrance Police Department last year. LA County DA George Gascon announced they're facing criminal charges for this incident. While we were not able to obtain photos of the officers, we do have a photo of the Torrance City Police Chief, Jeremiah Hart, who vowed to hold these cops or ex-cops accountable. And you see him there. He's the person in charge, okay? Hart stated the 2 officers were part of a larger internal investigation into misconduct. According to Hart, the allegations took place in January of 2020, prompting an administrative investigation in March of that year. Hart said at least a dozen officers, including Welding and Tomsick, from the department in March of 2020. Details on the 2 officers, according to the LA Times, reads as so. 2 former Torrance police officers were charged with spray painting a swastika inside of a resident's car, and prosecutors are now reviewing hundreds of cases involving the ex-cops to see if their alleged actions might imperil any arrests or convictions, officials said. I could save you some time here, District Attorney. Absolutely, absolutely. I promise you, there are cases that now you need to take another look at because you had 2 racist individuals in charge of the investigation, the apprehension, the arrest, and everything else, okay? This is what happens when you have a culture that allows individuals like them to permeate it. It's expensive. It's a public relations nightmare. And just the fundamentals of criminal justice, you can't enforce these laws if you have lawbreakers arresting people. You can't enforce them. All right, it gets deeper. Each were charged with conspiracy and vandalism in connection with that particular incident. That is it. The 2 were part of a group of officers who responded to the report of mail theft, okay? The car was potentially involved and was towed. The 2 officers allegedly decided to spray paint a swastika on the vehicle's rear seat and a happy face on the front passenger seat, according to a criminal complaint filed Thursday. Prosecutors also alleged the pair falsified a document submitted to the California Highway Patrol as part of their investigation by not including information about vandalism in the report. You know what that means? That means that they should have been charged with violation of oath of office and falsifying an official report, okay? That violation of your oath, that gets you to your felony right there, all right? The case was the result of an internal investigation by that police department, which referred the case to the DA's office in April of 2020. A sergeant, a Torrance police spokesman, said Weldon left the department in July 2020 after serving as a city police officer for a little more than 4 years. Tomsic, who was hired in August 2015, left the department in September of last year. Now, they're still getting all of this special treatment. Let me explain this. The Torrance City Attorney's Office instructed the leadership not to disclose if the officers were fired or if they resigned, okay? They instructed the leadership not to disclose that information. The DA's office is also reviewing hundreds of cases involving those officers to ensure no other alleged misconduct occurred and determine if the alleged bias act might impact any cases in which Tomsic and Weldon were either the arresting officers or called as witnesses, officials said. The case was presented as a hate crime, but the hate crime enhancement has not been filed, ladies and gentlemen. You don't get more hate crime-ish than that. So they're already receiving significant special treatment, even though they should be held to a higher standard of accountability. In 2017, Tomsic was one of several officers involved in a fatal shooting of a man at the end of a car chase. That's according to court records. Police said the suspect, Michael Lopez, was trying to ram officers when they opened fire. The DA's office declined to file charges against Tomsic in 2019. There's more. There's more. This same cop was also among a group of officers involved in a deadly struggle with a knife-wielding suspect, Daughtry Ross, at the Dale Amo Mall in 2018. The officers used a taser and physical force to try to subdue Ross, who had allegedly tried to grab for an officer's weapon during the fight. Ross died, okay? Ross is dead and died at the hospital a short time after that clash. An autopsy found a heart attack in combination with methamphetamine intoxication and struggling with officers as the cause of death. Prosecutors decided not to file charges against these cops again. Routine, consistency, patterns. We see it all the time. David, what are your thoughts?
I'm shocked by the last thing you said, that prosecutors decided not to file charges against them. I mean, there is a culture, obviously, that is rotten. These are clearly dirty, rotten cops. And look, I get that in emotional situations, and let's be clear, it's not easy being a police officer. There are a lot of things about life that are not easy, but there are every day where all of us can point and say, you know what? If I followed my emotions, yeah, maybe I might try to go punch that guy that cut me off in the street, or maybe that person who flipped me off, maybe I'd go roll them. We're all tempted to do things sometimes. None of us is perfect, but especially a police officer, it is your job to separate your emotions, what you feel like you want to do, and what you're allowed to do legally. Because if any of us are allowed to take matters into our own hands and mete out punishment and vandalize somebody's car and taser somebody when they don't need to be tased, if any of us can take things into our own hands, then we don't have justice in society, we have anarchy. That's the danger in all this. And for people to say, well, what about the criminals? Well, now, because of these cops and their terrible record, now a bunch of criminals might actually get off because their lawyers can point back and say, oh yeah, these were dirty cops who made up something about this arrest. They have a record of it. We need a new look at this case. That's a problem.
Yep, a big problem. You know what else is a big problem? Ladies and gentlemen, I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free. Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
My store, leave my store and stop using profanity. Leave my store, leave my store since you cannot read. Leave my store, leave my store, leave my store, my store.
You want me to rip your head off?
Go ahead and touch me. Leave my store. This will be going on social media. Leave my store. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful day. Wonderful day. Thank you for chatting. God don't like ugly. Thank you.
Okay, this particular Mayor Karen is telling this employee at a Subway that he is going to hell, okay? This Mayor Karen spewed homophobic slurs while being escorted out of that restaurant. This is what I have a beef with. I have a beef with the fact that so many individuals like this guy, all right, I haven't been able to identify his name yet. I'm sure that's coming as soon as we post this on YouTube, okay? They use their faith, they use their Christianity, they use their religion in order to spew hate, in order to be intolerable, to be rude, to be mean, to be disrespectful and bigoted. These are the individuals that give Christianity a bad name. And truly, they give all faith a bad name when they operate in this way, adversarial to common sense. Here's what I tell people all the time. I am a Christian man, but God gave me a brain before he gave me a book. And there are some common decencies that I know based on my humanity that I must show to everyone. And I appreciate the soul that I have to show it. I don't understand a person like this whatsoever. This guy has so much hate in him, but he thinks he's going to heaven. All right, David, your thoughts here.
My thoughts is this looks a lot like one of my former bosses, and I didn't realize that he liked to eat at Subway. But in any case, whether it's my former boss or not, let's be clear. And for everybody who's out there, there should be a reminder. There are a lot of people out there with mental health issues who get triggered very easily. And so it's the responsibility of all of us to do as the owner of the Subway did and to say, get out of my store, get out of my store. Just keep repeating it until the person leaves. I think there's also a reminder here that Subways, businesses, they are private properties in the sense that if you don't wear a mask, if you're gonna use foul language, you could be thrown out. And the rights belong to the people who own the establishment. If you want to say dirty language out on the public square, public street, that's one thing. But if you're in somebody's business, you got to wear a shirt, you got to wear shoes. If they want you to wear a mask, you have to. And if you're going to use bad language, expect to be thrown out. So crazy.
There you go. All right, we got more. On the other side, it's indisputable, stick and stay.
Cenk Uygur is not here today, which means that I will be able to talk during the show.
We'll see. We'll see.
Poor Cenk, under the bus.
My God, if Jesus came back, how much would the Republicans hate him? So now you have to give away all of your possessions to the poor. Steve King would be like, oh, Weezy. Everyone should be lucky enough to have a John Iadarola in their life.
You confused everyone.
Okay, sorry, I thought it was pretty clear.
Take a break now.
You can turn me to Dr. Manhattan as long as I get what Dr. Manhattan's packing, okay?
The liberal mom says, Mark Thompson, have you ever thought about doing one of those tapes that soothe people to sleep? Like Mark Thompson reads the phone book. I'd buy it.
If you'll buy it, I'll do it.
Emilio D'Amelio writes in, John, you are so thick. I love you. That's what he wrote.
Pork Chop Express writes in and says John Iadarola needs a new jacket.
Whoa.
Those 24-inch pythons are about to burst out of his sleeve.
Gun, baby. You know, the two people here said that their moms were both in love with you over Beauty and the Beast.
Mm-hmm. That's an improvement. I usually get grandmothers.
Charlie Turk.
No, wait a minute, don't you dare.
Chemical castration when we return from the break.
I hope that, who they choose for the White House isn't just a borderline Klansman. That's all we gotta hope.
That's it, we will settle it.
She's cute.
I didn't say that about Laura Ingraham.
Scandal at TYT. Did Anna comment on my tan yet? No, she hasn't.
You're a good bosser.
But Anna did say that I come in here today with a fresh mind. That's all I'm about. I'm about a fresh mind.
I can't with you right now. Okay?
She just can't. She can't, but nonetheless, we have to for another 3 hours. I'm back, baby. Let's rip into Republicans. See, don't miss the live show.
That's great.
Tell people, if you're a member, you get the whole live show whenever you want, because this stuff doesn't go into any of the clips.
Welcome to the Damage Report. I'm John Iadarola. This is gonna be a big one.
Meanwhile, in the Arctic, you know where this is going. You watch the Damage Report, the Arctic's on fire. Obviously, why would we be talking about the Arctic except to tell you that it's melting once again? The Republicans aren't that interested in it. I wonder why. Lift out of poverty up to 3.7 million people, including an estimated 1.3 million children. Hashtag save the children? Not if it costs money. I mean, come on.
What's happening? I'm Dr. Rashad Richey, host of Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Richey. Here's the bottom line. I play no games about policy, period. Too many people's lives are at stake. So here's what I do. I challenge conservative ideology that hinders the growth of this country. I make sure we place our facts in proper context, and I have no problem debating anyone on a position that I have. Progressives have the ideas to change the world, but when you really look at it, progressives have always changed this world for the better. I want you to tune into my new show, Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Richey, right here on the TYT Network, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Time. I'll see you there.
Everything that we've accomplished over the years is because of our members who've allowed us to remain independent of corporate interests and reach 20 million followers. Now is the time to bring as many people into the progressive movement as possible. We're inviting you to be the change and help bring a community-powered progressive change machine to life. Details are at tyt.com/change. If you're a member, thank you. We need you to remain so. If you're one of the thousands of viewers out there who's not a member yet, the time has come for you to join now. We need you more than ever. tyt.com/change.
Welcome back to Indisputable. Let me go to some of these comments. We got a lot of them. And don't forget to watch Galaxy Brain with Ben Carollo. That's right after Indisputable, all right? So make sure you stick and stay for that. TYT member, Biden Flavor Corn Pop. David is very awesome every time he's on TYT. He is, every time. Land of 10,000 Rinks. David and Dr. Richey have a seamless presence together. We actually have a kindred spirit too. Yeah,
we do. We're brothers from a slightly maybe different mother, but I channel you, Dr. Richey. I'm right there with you.
Amen. Mickey C. the Silverhaired Dragon. Glad they were charged, but not with a hate crime. Yeah, they're getting benefits and privileges they should not have. You are right. YouTube super chat. Oh, this is funny. The Puppet Master says, reminds me of Chris Tucker's line in Rush Hour. I love this line, by the way. This is the LAPD. We're the most hated cops in all the free world. My own mama's ashamed of me. She tells everyone I'm a drug dealer. That's one of my favorite lines actually in that movie. The AC says the US military is kinder to foreign citizens than our own police is to Americans. You are correct, okay? Chloe M. That creepy male Karen who didn't want to leave the store, he looks exactly like the one at the school board meeting the other day. Is it the same guy? No, it's not the same guy. They may be related. It, may be a father-son combination here. Not the same person. Mini 20202 says, you do God's work, Doc. Well, thank you. McCoy 1303 return. Mace bear spray, not Karen spray. Songs of Sovereignty, thank you for that. Happy Aloha Friday, Dr. Richey from the Big Island. So appreciate you and your show. The truth is indisputable. That's right, and we'll appreciate you as well. Thank you all. Twitch, Finland Narrow. Why are officers driving around on duty with spray paint? You know why? Because that's not the first swastika they painted. That's why, okay? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, finally, a Karen law has been used to prosecute a racist ass store owner. That's him, you're looking at him. Let me give you some background to this. A former ice cream shop owner in New York has been ordered to pay $4,500 after being accused of calling the police on peaceful Black Lives Matter protesters. He falsely claimed they threatened him with violence. There was no threat whatsoever. The protesters were there because it was revealed that the shop owner, via text, this was revealed, that the shop owner used the N-word to describe a Black former employee, and that he would not hire Black people. Let's put up his picture. His name is David Elmendorf. David Elmendorf is the guy at the center of the controversy. In a lawsuit that was filed by Attorney General Letitia James in March, it's alleged that it was actually Elmendorf who was threatening violence against the protesters gathered in front of his store. This happened June 30th, 2020 initially. He reportedly referred to them as savages hanging out in Section 8 housing, along with a slew of other racial slurs. Elmendorf was accused of brandishing a .22 caliber air rifle pellet gun at the group and threatening to shoot the protesters and run them over with his truck. This actually has a very good ending. That guy, let's put his picture up again. He was arrested, okay? Elmendorf was arrested and charged with 2 misdemeanor counts of menacing related to the incident after police recovered a pellet gun, a can of ammunition, and a rifle scope in his vehicle. He became the first person to be charged under a new state law prohibiting the filing of false police reports to intimidate someone based on their race. The law was established after the infamous Central Park Karen. That was the incident last year. Everybody remembers that. Elmendorf was ordered to pay 9 protesters $500 each as a result of his actions. Should have been $5,000, but we'll take it. It's a start. That's called punitive, by the way. It is an element in the law that is meant to punish wrongdoers by taking away some of their money, okay? So he has been arrested. There's an investigation. He has to pay restitution. That's your punitive damages. And he's being prosecuted under the new Karen law. You know why? Because people like you stood up and said, these Karens are dangerous and they are out of control. Not only did it change the social understanding, it literally changed the political and policy landscape to now statutes, actual laws have been changed in order to prosecute people like him. David, what are your thoughts about this?
Well, my thoughts are Mr. Elmendorf is gonna find out the hard way that the ice cream doesn't taste so good in the big house. So maybe he should have been a little bit safer. But the other thing about it is, I mean, and we just did a story on Rebel HQ about this, about some kids who were running around Providence, Rhode Island, pointing BB guns, pellet guns at various people. They look the same as a regular rifle. And so when you do that, you are intimidating, you're threatening, you're essentially telling people to be fearful of your life, even if it may not be fearful of your life because it's a pellet gun. I mean, that's dangerous, it's reckless. And so I'm glad that they've got this Karen law in New York and they're able to use it to prosecute this guy. Clearly, he's got some serious challenges and issues and needs to be put away for a while.
Yep. And he had to sell his ice cream shop because of the mounting pressure. So he no longer owns that ice cream shop. He has definitely been penalized in various ways because of his own racism, okay? Let me bring you to Texas for a minute, because the Texas Republican lieutenant governor, that fella, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, said something quite racist that he assumed was true because it's negative about Black people, okay? So he just made an assumption that what he's saying is accurate. Let me show you the video of his comment.
Coming after your state because the increased COVID numbers, hospitalizations, deaths are up in Texas, and there's a direct assault on your governor's policies and your state's policies. Very brief response.
Yeah, Well, Laura, the COVID is spreading, particularly most of the numbers are with the unvaccinated, and the Democrats like to blame Republicans on that. Well, the biggest group in most states are African Americans who have not been vaccinated. The last time I checked, over 90% of them vote for Democrats in their major cities and major counties. So it's up to the Democrats to get, just as it's up to Republicans, to try to get as many people vaccinated. But we respect the fact that if people don't want the vaccination, we're not going to force it on them. That's their individual right. But in terms of criticizing the Republicans for this, we're encouraging people who want to take it, but they're doing nothing for the African American community that has a significant high number of unvaccinated
TikTok
people.
videos.
So they need to address that.
You a damn lie. And I'm about to expose you right now. This is completely untrue, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. Let me bring some actual science to the forefront here. Some real data, not just your racist ideology. Here it is, Kaiser Family Studies. They have a report, let's put that report up. Okay, we're gonna get that report. I will read it to you and it will come up momentarily. It shows very clearly that the group in question, for those who are unvaccinated and vaccinated, what you see clearly, 56% unvaccinated are white people, okay? They're whites. When you look at the unvaccinated per capita based on the profile data, blacks are at 14%, and Hispanics are at 19%. Let me go to another one. This study also broke down something called definitely not and wait and see. Let me explain that. There are some individuals who are still in a wait and see mode. They're saying things like, I'm not really anti-vax, but I am in a wait and see mode. And then there are those who say, I am in the definitely not, no matter what happens, I will never receive the vaccination mode. Based on the data, whites in the wait and see mode are at 53%. 53%. The definitely not whites are at 69%. Blacks on the wait and see side, 18%, and definitely not only 7%. Lieutenant Governor, you're incorrect again. I have tons of data. Let's put up the next one. Once again, why do narratives like this happen? Narratives like this are perpetuated by men like him because it's a way for him to connect a negative narrative to a group of black folks. And by extension, he connects a negative narrative to Democrats as a whole. So you have your political and you have your racial. And he's trying to kill two birds with one stone, pardon the pun. But the truth is adversarial to reality, okay? The problem lies with primarily white male Republicans. That's where the problem lies. And he's not able to simply look at the data and the science and tell the truth to his own people because they don't want to hear the truth. They want to hear that somehow, whatever's happening in the world, it must be the fault of a black person. And that's why he would not be challenged by those inside of his own party to actually tell the truth. But here we do, we tell the truth. David, thoughts?
First of all, thanks, Dr. Ritchie, for bringing us the data and the facts. It's unmistakable what you pointed out, that this is largely white males that are the problem here. The problem that I see it is, I mean, Dan Patrick had a wasted opportunity with this, because imagine the conversations that are gonna happen around the water cooler at the offices, wherever on Zoom, where people are gonna say, oh yeah, it's the black people who are not getting the vaccine. Yep. Well, that's a mistake. And secondly, this lieutenant governor could have looked into the camera and said, I want to be absolutely clear to everybody. It is a responsibility on all of us as leaders of our state, of our community, to tell you the vaccines are safe. They will keep you from dying. They may not keep you from getting COVID, but they'll keep you from dying. And everybody should go and get it. And trust me, whether you're a Republican, a Democrat, independent, vegetarian, libertarian, whatever, get the vaccine. that would have had a much better impact than him avoiding responsibility and somehow trying to castigate or blame others. And so again, it's a failed leadership, and I feel sadly for the people in Texas who have to have this, not only with their lieutenant governor, but also their governor, Greg Abbott, who also has aspirations, I think, to sometimes blame others.
Yeah, and he can't even protect his damn self because he got COVID. And he's talking about being anti-mask mandates, and he now had to put out a video proclaiming that he has COVID, all right? So anyway, the hypocrisy is unreal here. My friend, always a pleasure to have you on Indisputable. Tell people how they can connect and follow your great work.
Well, Dr. Rich, it's an honor to be with you. People can see me on TYT's Rebel HQ. It's one of the many channels we have at the Young Turks. Rebel HQ, both on YouTube. You can find our stuff also on Facebook. You can look me up on Twitter at David Schuster. I'm happy to interact with the audience. And I'll take some of the audience members, Dr. Richie, that you have. They're smart and they're witty. What a great group. And so I appreciate you giving me the chance to be on. It's an honor to be with you and your team.
Man, it's a great audience, man. I appreciate you saying that, brother. Thank you so much.
You got it.
All right, we got more on the other side. Stick and stay. It's indisputable.
Well, the Young Turks, the Friday show is gonna be awesome. We're gonna help us over here. Drop it.
We became the first ever daily online web television show.
No, the Constitution is the very core of America. The fact that we don't spy on American citizens, that we get a warrant, that we go to a judge, that we have a procedure, that we have due process. That is America.
On top of it, they go, why don't they just stay at their own schools? You gotta realize something. These schools suck. They want people to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. You ain't got no straps, you ain't got no boots.
He lit these fires in trash bins all around town out of frustration.
99th most viewed channel today on YouTube.
The Shorties Award. Best web host. We passed 1 billion views. Voice Award winner, news and information channel, The Young Turks. Oh, another Webby.
The Young Turks.
Can I curse? Yeah! For those of you watching on live stream, yes, we have adopted a pet iguana that showed up at our door.
Haunted version in the dark with our silhouettes.
Now let's get to the best line of the debate. And it was definitely the one against Fox. I told you we were coming.
When you talk about it, when it becomes a problem, our lack of gun control is a problem.
Nonsense BS story is hurting that cause, and they need to wake up and recognize that they are being had by these people.
Biggest gang in America. Question is, how do we make sure that we blame the person who is dead? What kind of democracy is that?
We should never forget that the most powerful people in the world exploited the greatest tragedy in American history to go to war in a country that had a lot of oil.
Rolling thunder. That's what this show is.
Never in my life did I think I would like to see a dictator. But if there's going to be one, I want it to be Trump.
Tick-tock, tick-tock.
Where's the line? We've crossed every line you can imagine.
We are a socialist country. It's socialism for the rich.
Tick-tock, tick-tock.
You don't have to know the truth, just believe what they tell you.
There is no bounds to their monstrous hypocrisy. Tick-tock. I think we're gonna win the Senate in 2020. And I think we're gonna have the House, and I think we're gonna have the presidency. Tick-tock. And in 2020, we're going to clean your clock, and we're gonna run you out of town, and we're gonna have an actual democracy in this country. November of 2020 could also be potentially the greatest day of our lives. Let us whisper of a dream.
hear when I smacked it back that I like.
Say hi to the camera.
I don't like this.
What's happening? Welcome back. We got a lot of comments. Let's get to it. Okay. We got Mickey C, the silver-haired dragon says, not only should these people who falsely call police have to pay restitution to the people they hurt, they should also have to pay for the time wasted by the police responding. Okay, that's a thought. YouTube super chat. Thank you, Daniel. David Lee, Dan is terrible. He wanted to sacrifice old people to COVID just to save the stock market. You remember that, don't you, David? I remember when the lieutenant governor of Texas went on Fox News and said that he was really the first of many who ended up saying something very similar. You're right, good memory. Sarah L, is it Yisrael? Thank you, Dr. Richard, for speaking truth for us. I'll always be appreciative. I love you and the swag in you. Thank you so much for that. I love you back. Sonic Boom Dragon 23. I feel bad for Karens who are nice, but I have never met a nice Karen yet. I actually do know nice Karens. I know nice Karens in the world. Okay, I do. There are nice Karens. Fiddle and Arrow says on Twitch, Elmendorf is what you get when you cross Stephen Miller with Jake's drawing of John. Not the drawing of John. Oh my gosh. Okay. Drum at 9, Scratch Mark says, Patrick is definitely ramping up the rhetoric. Don't be surprised if his next step is deport the blacks. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the bullpen. In the bullpen today, an oldie, not so favorite though, Shelley Winter, a conservative talk radio personality, and actually a very dear friend of mine. Shelley, good day, welcome to Indisputable.
You know I'm your favorite, Rashad. You keep having these other guys on there talking all kind of crazy stuff, and then when they say crazy stuff, you say, see, those are the conservatives. So, you know.
No, you say crazy stuff too, Shelley. You say crazy stuff also.
I never.
Okay,
I'm nuanced and intellectual.
Okay, we'll see, my friend. We're gonna discuss the social media suspensions that are happening. To give some background, obviously, Donald Trump has launched a class action lawsuit against these major tech companies who have social media platforms, and many of us engage with these platforms on a regular basis. I don't want to presume what you know or believe about this, Shelley. So give me your background as it relates to the suspensions that happen on these platforms.
I mean, it goes to, it's kind of the same thing conservatives have. We're mad, obviously, we're mad that the former president of the United States who served one term is suspended from a platform where he gets to communicate his ideas or his criticisms or whatever to the American people, particularly to the 70 million people who voted for him. So we're upset at that, obviously, but we also believe in the right of a business to do what the business wants to do. Just like we're totally supportive of the free market system to punish those businesses for doing it. So, I mean, I think the suspensions for many of us is something where we're upset that it happens, but we understand it. We understand a business should be in control of passing a mask mandate or saying you should have to be vaccinated to come into our store. And that should be up to the business to do that, not up to the government to tell the business that it has to do that. So I think we're consistent in our viewpoint on that, in that this is the same thing. If Twitter wants to ban Donald Trump, that's Twitter's right. Of course, it upsets people like me because I see Twitter banning Donald Trump and seeing other people who have said much worse things and done worse things still having a platform. So the politics of it can't go away, but I get it. I believe in the right of a private entity to be able to do what it wants to do. Now, as we get into Section 230 and all those kind of governmental policies that allow Twitter to even exist, now it gets into something different. But on the base level, if they want to do it, it makes me mad, but they have every right to do it.
Let me disagree with your conclusion. Republicans are not on the same page as it relates to private enterprise or the free market determining what happens in the free market. As a matter of fact, the man you just highlighted, Donald Trump, he does not believe as you believe. You believe, based on your assessment here on the show, you believe that Twitter and companies like it, those are free market enterprises. Those free market enterprises are able to engage in what's called self-regulation. However, Donald Trump does not believe as you believe, and 71% of Republicans agree with Donald Trump as it relates to his lawsuit against these companies. You all are significantly fractured here.
No, well, not fractured at all. I believe the lawsuit should go forward. I believe he should sue them and try and take every dime from them. I totally believe that.
But that's not the.
I'm simply saying to you that as a conservative, I believe a private business should be able to do that which it wants to.
Okay, I understand, brother. Let me make the point and I'll let you respond to the full point, okay? You all are quite hypocritical in this arena. Over 70% of Republicans agree that Donald Trump should have the authority to tell a private company that they cannot regulate his speech on their platform, okay? That's antithetical, brother, to a free market design. The free market design says that we are engaged and have the authority to do these things as private companies. So which is it? Is it?
Well, I don't know. I told you what I believe. Now, if you
I understand that, but you also said that you all were consistent in this message, and you all are not.
But no, there's no you all. Shelley Winter's here on the Rashad Ritchie show in the bullpen, not the Republican. Shelley Winter, a conservative. I'm telling you what I believe in.
But you do admit that the Republicans are wrong here.
Hold on, let me tell you. So if the Republicans are wrong, if a private business, based on what you think should happen with Twitter, if a private business decides to say, I don't want people with hats on backwards to come into my business, or white t-shirts or sagging pants, will you go protest that restaurant? Because it's a private business, according to you, it should have, and me, it should have the right to do what it wants to do, right?
So let me answer that question, but I want to make sure I get your clarification on the record. You're saying that if a person believes that Twitter does not have the right to regulate their company and their platform, you're saying that person is in fact wrong, correct?
Yeah, I'm saying if a person says I'm gonna sue Twitter, they have the right to sue Twitter. If they say that they don't have a right to block me off of Twitter, then yes, I think they're wrong because Twitter has the right to do whatever it wants to do. But are you prepared to sit here and say that same Twitter can block Rashad Ritchie for any number of reasons, not being policy wise? They could just say, they could arbitrarily say.
You are saying Donald Trump is wrong, correct?
Yes, I mean, why are you asking me like I'm gonna be banned from the?
Why are you getting upset, brother?
Donald Trump is wrong.
Why are you getting mad, brother? You know good and damn well he's wrong. But 71% of Republicans think he's right. That's not a problem inside of the Republican Party?
No, it's not a problem because they think he's right from the standpoint of they believe that Twitter should not be able to ban anybody. I agree with that sentiment. Twitter should not be able to ban anybody. They shouldn't be. They shouldn't be. But YouTube should not be able to ban you. YouTube should not be able to ban me. YouTube should not be able to drop anybody that it arbitrarily wants to. YouTube should not be able to say this was misinformation and take Robert Kennedy down off of YouTube. I don't believe that. I don't believe.
What do you Okay.
Hold on, let me say this. I fundamentally don't believe they should be allowed to do that, but I understand as private entities that they can. So that's a different, it's a nuanced answer to your question. You're trying to, I don't know why.
So that's what we call it now. When you talk out of both sides of your ass, we call it nuance. Come on, man.
It's called the gray area, Rashad. Life is not lived in the black and the white that you guys like to live in, this paradigm between right and left. Life for most of us that are pretty much common sense people, we live in the gray area.
Let me add some common sense to this argument, brother. The bottom line is the First Amendment of the US Constitution says Congress should not make a law to abridge the freedom of speech. Congress cannot do this. So anytime you're talking about a violation of the freedom of speech, if it is not being allocated, done, mandated, or even promoted by the government, then it is not a violation of that constitutional right. And you know that, I know that. Absolutely. However, brother, my point to you is this. There is a fracture in the Republican Party because while you all promote a platform of deregulation, saying that private enterprise and private market should be in the business to regulate themselves, you have lawsuits like with Donald Trump that are completely adversarial to that particular Republican notion. And the party, and this is why I bring it to you, the party fundamentally disagrees with this lawsuit based on its policy premise. But 71% of Republicans are in support of something that is adversarial to what they have historically believed for decades. You don't find that to be a problem?
No, not at all. Because again, let me explain. I tried to explain it before, you laughed it off. Let me explain.
I'm gonna laugh it off.
The lawsuit is specifically talking about stopping his ability to communicate with those people for him to communicate with as a politician. That's being blocked and halted by Twitter. So the lawsuit is intended to show that if Twitter is allowed, or Facebook is allowed, or YouTube is allowed, or any communications entity is allowed to arbitrarily decide who gets to communicate to whom, then that's the problem. That's why you filed the lawsuit. As again, I will say this, as a private entity, they are allowed to do, based on me being a free market conservative, they're allowed to do that. But it gets into the weeds when you're talking about a communications company stopping certain people from communicating a certain message that they may not like, or the person they may like, to the people that's what Republicans, 71% of Republicans are talking about. So there is a lot of nuance here. It's just not cut and dry for you to say, oh, you guys don't like this, or you guys are hypocritical. No, it's not a hypocritical.
You guys are hypocritical, but I will move on. We will agree to disagree on that point. Let me ask you this question, because the class action nature of this lawsuit about social media suspensions is quite baffling, because in the lawsuit itself, it makes a proclamation that this is a targeted attempt to specifically silence conservative voices only. This is not a lawsuit standing up for everybody to have right and access and protection on these platforms.
I just said it's not intended to. It's intended to say that Twitter.
Shelley, allow me to finish, brother.
Go ahead.
I allowed you to finish.
Go ahead.
The lawsuit, the nature of the lawsuit, does not say that everyone should have protection and free access on these particular platforms. The lawsuit proclaims that only conservative voices are being adversely impacted. And so the class action suit represents conservative content creators and conservative talkers, okay? But let me ask you this question. If that is the actual genesis of this whole thing, why is it that these people still are on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and IG and everywhere else? Candace Owens, Ben Shapiro, Larry Elder, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz, the list goes on and on. How is it that these individuals who are controversial, who say things that you don't even agree with many times, why are they still able to access these platforms and others are not, if the goal is to stop conservative voices only?
Because Marjorie Taylor Greene has been blocked off of Twitter several times for statements she made. The whole point of this is we are in a different world. We're in a world now where this is the way people communicate. I communicate with you, I listen to you, I watch you, people communicate with me through Facebook, through Twitter. This is how we share ideas right now. So it's gone away from television and other sources. Now everyone gets to share their thoughts and ideas. So the point becomes is if we allow companies to arbitrarily take off, deplatform people who they disagree with politically, we're living in a dangerous time, and that's what is going on with this lawsuit.
But I just
Marjorie Taylor Greene is taken off of Twitter every couple weeks for something.
Yeah, and rightfully so. But
there you go. Why do you? So that's the point. Who determines? No. I'll end with this statement.
Okay.
Why do you get to determine rightfully so? Who are you?
Let me tell you. Let me break this down.
Who are you to say rightfully so?
Let me break it down to you. I'm going to answer that question, then get into my next statement. There are three primary categories for someone to be deplatformed, okay? And obviously the penalties vary because it could go from suspension to a full ban, right? Harmful to others, threatening to others, or repulsive to others. Now, much of that can be contextualized as subjective.
Of it is contextualized.
Listen, bro.
All of it is arbitrary.
Kind of like your nuance here. Right.
No, all of it is arbitrary.
All of it has some context and obviously some level of subjectivity. But the reality is, if we're talking about major companies that are only trying to limit conservative ideology because of the politics of it, why is it that the most influential conservative talkers in America all still have access to these platforms?
Because they all have been dropped or punished at some point. You can't totally
come on, ban, brother. Everybody, hell, I done been in Facebook jail, brother. Come on, man.
Rashad, you're sliding the question. We know if you're being honest with your listeners, you know conservatives by and large are punished more than others
because
on Twitter,
of the silly things
Facebook.
You all say.
Well, that's what you can't. Who are you to determine that you have a problem with what we all say?
If you are supporting an insurrection against the United States,
FBI
if you are supporting
insurrection, see there you go.
Let me finish.
No. Because perfect example.
Shelley.
Perfect. Hold on, Rashad. Perfect example. You said you used the term insurrection for the last 5 months. You've gone on.
I use the term terrorist attack.
Hold on. You've gone on your show and you've defined what an insurrection is. The FBI just released today that they found no evidence that any of these people were trying to topple the government. None whatsoever. The FBI. So now why shouldn't you have been banned for spreading misinformation, calling it an insurrection for the last 5 months? Because you were wrong. According to the FBI, you were dead wrong. So why shouldn't you be accused of spreading, pouring gasoline on a fire that wasn't true?
First of all, let me correct you, brother. In that report, and you need to read it when you get a moment. That report actually talks about the lack of coordination between the Trump administration and those who committed acts of insurrection against the government. Let me be clear about
it. It doesn't say insurrection. You know it doesn't,
hold on, brother.
Man.
Brother,
no,
I'm going to read it.
Come on, man.
Come on, I'm going to read it. You ready for this truth, brother?
No, I'm not ready for you to spin the truth.
No, I'm about to tell you. I'm about to read it to you. You ready?
Read it to me.
Okay. They did conclude that there was significant organizing among many of the white supremacist groups.
Cells, individual cells of the Proud Boys and the far right militia groups.
The definition of insurrection is any act or instance of revolt against any civil authority or an established government. The definition of insurrection is what I just read to you.
Right.
If any act, it doesn't take a group to create an insurrection. Any act
or instance can create an insurrection
or instance, sir.
So there's an insurrection in Portland. So there's an insurrection in Washington, D.C. There's an insurrection by the left. These are insurrections also. They were against civil authority.
I want you to follow me logically here. I'm going to really try.
Logically. They were insurrections against civil authority. So were those insurrections? Yes,
sir. Let me ask you very plainly, Shelley.
No, you don't ask me. I asked you a question. Were those insurrections?
Sir, an insurrection is any revolt against civil authority or established government. Now, I've also made it clear on my show and on the radio show that this was actually an act of domestic terrorism. So I have defined it as an act of domestic terrorism.
Right,
Would you disagree?
Yes, no, I didn't. I don't disagree with that. I'm saying.
Okay, so you believe it was terrorism?
I believe you could define it however you want to.
No, brother, you just said I can't define it as insurrection. Now I can define it as terrorism.
Let's go back to the original point. You're not gonna take me down this rabbit hole.
No, you took your damn self down the rabbit hole.
I didn't. I'm trying to tell you that Twitter, should you be able to determine whether someone gets taken off of Twitter or Facebook?
Who should determine?
Who should determine?
Listen, you don't lost the point about insurrection and terrorists, but who should determine it on Twitter? Who?
You and I, by not following.
I don't own Twitter.
Well, I mean, but whoever's on Twitter, you just don't follow the people.
But that's not, listen, so that means that I should be able to decide what happens at the board of directors for any company that I do not own, right?
No, come on, man, come on. That's a ridiculous premise. The Twitter is not a board. Twitter's not a board of directors. That's not Twitter. That's a ridiculous premise. You said who should be able to determine?
Your premise is ridiculous, Shelley.
The free market should be able to determine. If I don't like Marjorie Taylor,
there you go.
I just don't follow her.
The free market. I'm glad you actually got back to.
But I will sue. I will sue on behalf of Twitter taking her platform away and not others.
For a moment, brother. The free market also dictates that private corporations are owned by private citizens. And those private citizens that own these corporations, they have the ability to say, here's what we will accept here, here's what we will not accept here within the confines of law. Twitter is not violating any legal precedent nor statutory law by saying, these are the things we find objectionable on our platform. We're not going to allow it. That's no violation of law, brother, right?
I never said it was. I never said it was, but I've got to go do radio. Thank you for having me.
Go ahead, brother, you're running, but it's all right, I'll get you back next time.
I'll see you next month.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you take care of yourself, take care of each other, and take care of the planet. And remember, the truth is always indisputable.